lot of really cool stuff for us very quickly. Any questions from the City Council? Doesn't look. I'll take it over to Chairman Gosar at the County Commission.
Commission doesn't have any questions. Thanks, Rachel. Good to see you this evening.
Here, here. Yep. Well, thank you very much for taking time to give us that rundown. We appreciate it.
Of course. Have a great evening.
We appreciate the public library. All right. Thank you. Oops. We'll go to Family Promise of Albany County. Family Promise. Looking to see who's here from
Hello.
Family Promise. It's Josh Hopkin. Welcome. Thank you for being here. It is over to you.
All right. Well, so yeah, my name's Josh Hopkin. I'm currently taking over for Cole Nutter as Director of Family Promise while we do hiring for our new Executive Director. Just to introduce everyone, we're a 501c3 dedicated to helping families, children at risk or who are experiencing homelessness achieve sustainable independence through community-based response. We are requesting what we requested last year with $15,000 to for our fundraising efforts, primarily our gala that we host every year. We're currently putting it on this April, and to help us leverage funds for our other programs and give us some more flexibility. Just to give you guys some updates on what we're doing. We offer our 3 programs. We have our Diaper Hygiene Pantry. In 2021, we distributed 18,000 diapers to 30 children in average per month. We have our shelter program, which we met the McKinney-Vento numbers for last year in the number of homeless children in schools. And then we have our prevention program where we help families who are at risk of experiencing homelessness avoid that. We can intervene financially, and that has expanded by 250% in the last year. We do have increased costs to intake with the increased housing. So these funds will go a long way in helping us leverage additional funds for fundraising. And let me know if you guys have any questions. Leave a little time for that.
Thanks, Josh. Nice to hear from you and get the update. It's not so nice to hear that we're hitting McKinney-Vento numbers at that level, and to hear that the need there is only growing, but at least we have some people that are trying to help. Same deal as before. Yeah, thanks, Josh. It's the same deal as before, council members. All right, Chairman Gosar.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor Weaver. Josh, do you guys still do part of your housing in churches, or has that been removed from your model?
Right, good question. So we have, at this point, we've fully moved to a scattered site model. So we have partnered with a couple of hotels in town to get kind of a discount. So we house families there as a transitional shelter. We try to get rooms that use kitchens. We were still trying to look for a static site when the opportunity comes up, but with the increased housing costs, it's something we are probably not looking at for this next year.
Thank you, Josh. That's all the questions we have, Mayor Weaver.
Appreciate it. Well, Josh, let us know if you have thoughts or needs where we might be able to help some of the other aspects of the organization as you go forward. You guys are a little bit one of the newer ones, but we really appreciate all the work that you're doing, and appreciate that it's not a small challenge. Thanks for being here.
Hey, thank you.
Have a good evening. All right, now I think we got Mr. Sal from ARC Regional Services. Thanks for being here. Sorry for calling on you early before, but it's your turn now.
Yeah. Thank you guys so much. Sorry for the confusion. I'm here talking to Todd and I stayed. So I'll explain how that happens some other time. ARC Regional Service, I'm Bob Sell. I'm the CEO for ARC Regional Services. And let me give you a quick overview of ARC Regional Services. We provide support and assistance for people with intellectual and developmental disabilities. We've been doing that for about 58 years. We provide services for about 92 people right now, most of which receive services from us 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. That amounts to about 20,000 hours of direct care every month, or 240,000 hours of direct care every year. We do that in a number of areas: residential services, which is considered, it can be called group homes or shared living environments. We have those operating and staffed 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Then there's an independent living component to what we do, which is folks who are higher functioning, and we support them maybe 4 to 6 hours a day. We do a lot of transportation, a lot of getting people out to the community, do shopping, do a lot of helping folks manage their finances, and we do a lot of support around mealtime. That seems to be when people really want it. In addition, we have a number of other things that we do. We do community employment, help people get jobs in our community. We have about 25 individuals who are actively employed, and we help them maintain those jobs and get new jobs, and we're constantly working in that area. We also have an equestrian services center that provides therapeutic riding, as well as something called equine assisted learning, which is a curriculum driven program that's educationally based, that uses horses as sort of the modality for that. And within that program, we also have a contract with the Albany County School District, where the special education classes come out to our facility about once a week. All the different schools send them out, and they do equine assisted learning with us. In addition, we do have our comprehensive curriculum-driven arts and education program that consists of language arts, math, science, as well as our award-winning fine and performing arts program that really focuses on building literacy skills so people can read, helping people develop job skills, as well as what we call in our field activities of daily living, which is basically everything we all do to get through our day. We teach those skills for them. We also have a lot of focus on positive behavioral supports and interventions, as well as trauma-informed care. It's sort of comprehensive what we do. We do employ about 170 individuals. 150 of those do the direct care work that I just referenced. A lot of part-time folks, a lot of full-time folks. We are primarily funded through Medicaid, but I don't need to tell this group how Medicaid programs are underfunded. We do work on securing about $300,000 every year in additional funding to cover operating expenses. That consists of a lot of grants, a lot of donors, a lot of other fundraising activities. Whenever I do any type of fundraising, I always try to connect the funding source back to a project or a large organization, so we try to make sure you see a direct impact. I've chosen over the years to focus on our theater programs, performing arts area, and I'll give you the reason why. Primarily the direct benefits to our clients. We see improvements in cognitive functioning. We see improvements in physical and mental health. We see improvements in communication skills, which is a huge area that our folks struggle with. We also see a huge improvement in their ability to manage stress. If you take somebody and put them in a stressful environment that is also very safe, they learn to manage their stress better, which our live theater performance program does for people. Big place that we focus on is helping people take responsibility for their own actions, which is a place our folks definitely struggle. And so we try to teach them that in theater. Live theater performance gives us that vehicle to do that, as well as teamwork. Working in groups and accomplishing things as a team is an area that the individuals we support struggle, and the live theater performances give us that vehicle as well as improvements in psychological and emotional behavior. We address that through all live theater performance production processes. The big thing that I love to tell this group is the external benefits. Our program, Live Theater Performance Program, gives our clients an opportunity to give something back to our community so they can contribute. Our clients can educate, they can entertain, and they can even challenge perceptions of the world through the stories that they tell and the way that they tell stories. What we love about our Live Theater Performance Program is it fuels connections with the individuals we support and the community in which they live. We think those connections are a huge way that we boost how our community is going to value people with developmental disabilities. And we have seen over my career that how we value people. Did I just leave? Am I still there? There I am. Oh, everything changed. That's my clock. We've seen these improvements in valuing, which we see improves people's opportunities and their way they're treated by communities. So that is my presentation. That should have hit 5 minutes exactly. Any questions you have, I would love to answer them.
We do have one question so far, Mr. Sell. It's going to be from Councilor O'Doherty.
Hi, Mr. Sell. Thank you. I was wondering, does the theater program reach out to the high school? Because I remember when I was on the Disability Council, they were hoping to have students at the high school understand people with developmental disabilities better. And it sounds like the theater project is a good way to do that. Do you have interaction with them?
We have not had a connection with them. I'm well familiar with Mike Hansey's program up there at the high school. He's very familiar with our program, and he's come to see some stuff, and we have communicated. We haven't been able to get students involved because of the commitment of volunteer hours and the background checks and things that have to happen. And our instructors have pretty set curriculums that they do. So it is certainly something we'd love to reach out to other parts of our community in order to participate. And I think I'll reach out to Mike and see if there's a partnership that we can have with those students up at the high school with his theater program. But like you said, I think there's also a disability program up there. Can't remember what it's called though, where the students participate in working with folks with disabilities. They haven't reached out to us, and we haven't reached out to them yet. And thank you for the suggestion. We will look at those partnerships anywhere we can.
Fantastic. Councilor Schmeckel.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm just curious if you're utilizing any programs through the Workforce Services to engage with UW students on internships or anything like that.
We use Workforce Services is a vehicle where people go to try to get employment opportunities, and then we would be a vehicle to help do actually the employment services. The Department of Workforce Services does fund some of the supports that we provide in getting people's jobs. As far as connecting DVR with college interns, we haven't done that. We do offer a lot of internships that come through WIND up on campus. We are an approved WIND internship site at the Cooper Center for Creative Arts. And so that's usually how we focus our energies. As all of you know, internships require a lot of work on our end too. And so we try to limit those to those WIND students that make sure they get those internship hours that we're approved to provide with our partnership with WIND.
Perfect. Thank you.
Any other questions? Councilman.
Commissioner Ibarra has one.
Okay. Let's go over to Commissioner Ibarra.
Thank you. Bob, you might have partly answered this already, but I wanted to know if you continually reach out to the community for new employment partnerships, or do you just rely on the same partnerships, or is that all through the Workforce Service?
Are you talking about employment for our clients?
Correct. Correct.
We do a lot of that in-house. We have an employment specialist that goes out in the community, builds relationships with employers. It's difficult because we have to do a lot of work on our end to do what we call job carving. We often offer the training of our clients in the work site, and COVID has really shut a lot of that down. And so as we build back up again, that's been our process, is using our employment specialists and their connections with the community to get our folks jobs out there. Our biggest challenge is our community seeing that folks with disabilities can do more than food service. But that's a challenge because everybody's, you take on somebody with a developmental disability, can they do the job that they need done? But with the work environment we're in right now, there should be a lot of opportunities. And so that's sort of we're ramping back up since we can sort of get back out and build those relationships. So short answer, we do it pretty much in-house with our employment specialists, working directly with community employers.
And in the last couple of years, and I know COVID has played into this and all, but has that number increased as far as the opportunities out there?
Not in the last few years, like you said. It's been lower. Also, just I don't want to get into our whole philosophical challenges, but one of the big challenges is our folks that we support, come into our programs not wanting to work. They don't see a need, so we first have to educate them on the importance of work, and then develop those job skills, and then get them out into the community to find something that they actually want to do. We also fight a lot of perceptions from our community, and we fight a lot of perceptions from guardians and family members who just feel like, the person can't work, so we have to convince them to let us try. And so there's a lot of pieces to this whole thing. So once again, short answer, we have not seen growth in opportunities, but I think we will, since all the employers in town are all desperate for employees. I think we can start building those relationships. It starts with convincing an employer that our folks can actually do the job they need. And that's a relationship builder.
Exactly. Thank you, Bob.
You're welcome.
I think we had Councilmember Gabriel.
You bet. Thanks, Mayor. Bob, the other day I had little time to reflect as I sat at the crosswalk on North 3rd Street. And that's very important for those individuals to get across. And I just want to express my, a deep appreciation for the work that you do, your staff. It's so important in our community. And really, thanks very much.
I love you mentioned that crosswalk is for us, not just safety, it's independence. All those folks that live in our apartment complex up there on North 3rd, getting over to the Cooper Center for classes, they don't need rides. They can get there themselves. And the independent component to that has been fantastic. And someday I'll tell you the task it took to get that done with the Department of Transportation and where they had to run all the power from. And it was a task, but important for us and important for the people we support. And I appreciate our community has gotten used to how to use those things because it was confusing for a while. But thank you for your comments.
You guys are talking about the hawk signals. They do take some getting used to. Any other questions for Mr. Self? Thank you so much for being here.
Hey, thank you very much. Appreciate it.
We'd like to hear about ARC. You've heard that we feel like it's an important program. Councilmembers, you have to excuse me. The mayor is trying to scarf some dinner down in the middle of this, so I apologize.
Mayor, I can take over while you're starving, if that's all right.
I would love it, Commissioner Gosar. Please do.
Okay, thanks. Enjoy dinner. Next up, Climb Wyoming, and it looks like we have Tess Snow. Tess, the floor is yours. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, like Pete said, I am Tess Snow, and I'm here with the Laramie Climb office. I just want to start off by saying thank you so much to the City of Laramie and Albany County for your ongoing support. It's so critical to the work we do. So just want to extend my gratitude and Climb's gratitude your way. I have been the assistant program director for the past 2 years for Climb, but I am transitioning over to the program director role. Just for some context, my Martha Doyle, our previous program director, is not here. She is still with Climb, but just in another capacity. So just felt important to share that. So what has Climb been up to? We have done a lot of medical programs here in Laramie. There has been such a need in the medical community. So our last program was Certified Medical Assistant as well as Certified Medical Administrative Assistant. There's such a need for these jobs in our community, and just here to support Laramie in filling that workforce gap. Even pre-COVID, there was a need for these medical jobs, and so we just kind of kept the momentum going and kept placing moms in those jobs. We've partnered with some amazing employer partners, and just to name a few, Nova Health, which is formerly known as Stitches, Ivinson Memorial Hospital, as well as the Albany County School District have all been incredible partners to help these moms find sustainable, well-paid, benefited jobs. And because of the success of this, we're actually doing this program again. There's still a need for these jobs. And so coming this summer, we'll be doing CMA, CMAA again. And then come fall, we're going to transition and do CDL. There's a huge need for workers in the truck driving industry in the Albany County community. So hoping to do a program in that capacity next. The next thing I wanted to speak to is just Climb's advocacy. During COVID, we have expanded our advocacy work because single moms were hit really hard with the impacts of COVID. And advocacy means connecting the moms that we work with the resources that will help them be successful through training. So housing, transportation, childcare, food, and those are just things that just help moms get through training successfully. We cannot do the work without the people. I was reading through the list, and we just rely so heavily on our community partners in that way. So just want to give a shout out to everyone and just say thank you. Yeah, and so the next thing I would just speak to is just our adaptability. COVID shut so many things down and slowed things down, but Climb kept moving. We know that it's so critical to our work environments that we keep placing moms in these jobs. So we did online programs, we did hybrid programs where they were in person and online. And now as we're inching back into in-person programs, we're ready to go completely back online if we ever had to quarantine or a mom had a sick kid, anything like that. Each mom has a laptop which has Zoom capabilities, so she wouldn't miss a beat if she were to have to miss training for something like that. Also, we are mental health based, and so we worked really hard to continue creating a safe and respectful environment for the women as they're going through the program, even on screen. So we just had to do a lot of training and learning how to keep that safe environment through Zoom, and I think we were pretty successful in that. So all in all, just so grateful for your support. Thank you for letting me be here, and I just want to pause and see if anyone has any questions.
Thank you, Tess. City councilors, any questions? All right, Commissioner Barrett. Tess, have a great evening. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Next up, Laramie Soup Kitchen, Ted Kramer. Ted?
All right, can everyone hear me?
Got you loud and clear. The floor is yours, Ted.
Thank you so much. My name is Ted Kramer, and I am the Executive Director of the Laramie Soup Kitchen. Most of you know me very well, especially for all the other times I've spoken in front of you in the last couple of weeks. So the Soup Kitchen, we've stayed open. So I think I like to emphasize that. Luckily, the pandemic, it seems like it's finally waning, but we've stayed open this entire time. And we're actually in our 39th year of being open, which is really exciting. In 2021, our average number of people served was actually 82 people per day. And I think that's a number that sometimes surprises people, that we are actually serving that many people. What's really interesting is that in the fourth quarter of 2021, our average was 102 people per day. So if those numbers stay where they are, we're going to serve significantly more meals in 2022. What that equated to in 2021 is just over 20,000 meals, about 20,400 meals. And we do that at a whopping 1 cent per meal. That's another number that really surprises people, because they're like, well, how could you possibly do that many meals and for that low of a cost? And how we do that is with food recovery specialists. So these are our part-time employees who go around town and they pick up food from local grocery stores, retailers, convenience stores, things like that. And then they sort it, they figure out what we need, and they redistribute surplus to other agencies. And so to give you an idea, in 2021 as well, 147,000 pounds of food was collected from the community. When I first started, that number was 47,000. So we've increased essentially our intake of food by 100,000 pounds per year, and we do that through relationships with the community. And the other thing that we started is that when I first started is this redistribution program. And so in 2021, we redistributed nearly 36,000 pounds of food to other agencies. This isn't usual. Like, this isn't a normal thing. Most soup kitchens and most individual agencies aren't able to give that kind of surplus to local community agencies. And we really pride ourselves on that. Like, there isn't a home base of the food bank here. And so we act somewhat like a food bank. One major difference is we don't charge those recipient agencies. So that's all done for free. The top 3 agencies last year is Interfaith received 43% of that, 36,000 pounds, Laramie Youth Crisis Center 17%, and Epson Center 16%. So those are our top 3, but we did give to about 15 agencies last year. So why I bring all this up is because community partner funding has historically been to help offset the costs of the food recovery specialists. We didn't used to have part-time employees do that. It was just covered by another position or mostly covered by another position. we did, just like everyone else, experience a labor shortage issue this past year. How we got around that, especially how we retained our excellent food recovery specialists, is we did increase our payroll by 25%. And we did that in October of 2021. So we've also, while this is an ongoing request, we have asked for a 25% increase from both the city and the county. So that brings the city's ask to 10,000, the county ask to 2,500. Combined, it will still cover what it has historically covered, which is 50 to 75% of the payroll costs and also their mileage reimbursement, which is a huge benefit. They're driving over 100 miles, averaging about 100 miles a month. So it's pretty substantial for just short trips around town. But yeah, I think that's about what I have to share. So I'll entertain any questions you may have.
Thank you, Ted. City Council, any questions? Go ahead, Eric, please.
I just want to point out to people that because of all this food being recovered, it's not going into the landfill and creating methane. And that's what the landfill is supposed to be one of our biggest emitters of greenhouse gases. So thank you, Ted, Soup Kitchen.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Councilor Doherty.
Thank you.
And my apologies. Councilor Gabriel, please.
Thanks, Pete. Ted, I was just curious about volunteers. I know when COVID hit, that was kind of a no-brainer that you really couldn't have a lot of people in there. What's the status right now?
Absolutely, Councilor Gabriel, that's a great question. So we did bring back the volunteer program. In July of last year, we went to a different model where people could actually come in and select many of their own items. It's far more welcoming. We were able to maintain a safe space by putting industrial air purifiers in the space and stuff like that. And at that exact same time, we welcomed back to volunteers. We did change the program. It's no longer a walk-in basis. We do require signups. It is interesting though, because the volunteers haven't really come back. We do have some dedicated ones that are coming each week, which is super exciting because before the pandemic, almost all of our volunteers were one time because a lot of them were service learning components with the university, for example. But we actually have almost every single one of our volunteers right now is coming on a weekly basis or a monthly basis, which is really exciting because it's so much easier to build that relationship and have them build a relationship to our guests and things like that. So I think that many people are, volunteerism has been affected by safety. And we're trying to maintain a really safe space, and we're trying to let people know that we are a safe place to volunteer. And I think that slowly people are coming back. But yes, we are offering it. So.
Any more questions from the City Council? County Commission doesn't have any. Thank you, Ted. I really appreciate it. Have a good evening as well.
Thanks, Ted.
All right.
Next up, home on the range, Pam Brecken. Pam, are you with us? Pam, we can see you. Maybe you're just joining us. Your mute is still on.
Okay. Let me turn my video on here. I don't know why it's... Should be popping up here sometime, maybe. There I am. Hello.
Hi, Pam. Good evening.
Pam.
I had to wait till all the animals got here. You know, they were out eating dinner. So most of you know me. You're familiar with me and my program. We are Home on the Range, and we're the only farm animal sanctuary in Laramie and Albany County. We have 23 family members, as we like to call them. They've all been abandoned, abused, or neglected, and Home on the Range is their final resting place. They're not up for adoption or anything like that. This is their last landing place. And we work throughout the year not only to raise awareness about the animals, we also make connections in the community and raise awareness about sustainability and the partnership with animals and the land and the community. This year, we're asking for the same amount that we asked for last year, which is $8,000. And that will help bridge the gap for the feed and day-to-day operating expenses for our operation. And I'm really super excited and relieved to say that 2021 was a lot better than the past 2 years. After the fire in January 2020, we were in a hard spot and we didn't know we were going to be able to keep going, but we did. And through the support of the community, we had set a goal not only to rebuild for the animals, but also to eventually get a community center where the caregiver could live and volunteers and whatnot could come in and rest after they had worked with animals and whatnot. And that goal was achieved this summer with the new community center. And you'll see that achievement on the balance sheet as one of our assets. We were super excited about it. And the project included building a surface for the community center to sit on. We installed a septic system, skirting, painting, weatherproofing, and we got all the electricity and water hooked up to the community center. So now Deb lives out there with animals, can take care of them much easier than driving out 3 times a day to take care of them. And we have space for volunteers to rest after they help out. The summer was good. In addition to that, we got a new resident. Her name is Lady. She was a fainting goat, and she'd been on a dry lot for 7 years, and her only companion was a chicken. And to top it off, they were feeding her chicken food. So that was not good for poor little Lady. When she arrived at home on the range, we started giving her fresh food and supplements, and she's doing great, and she's kind of the queen of the goat yard now. And talking about those supplements and good food, you all know how prices are when you go to Safeway or Ridley's and you have sticker shock, and the same is true for the feed for our animals. And they've increased a little bit more because 3 of our older animals, Jessie and Dox, our horses, and Shelby, a pony, have joined Simon, the donkey, in the senior citizen special diet club. So each day they require extra supplements and age-specific mash. That's easier for them to digest, and it helps them maintain their weight and their health. And that stuff is pretty pricey. It averages about $45 a day for the animals, so that adds up quickly. This summer again was good, and the year was good. We had about 112 visitors out, including a couple from Oregon that they planned their vacations around donkey rescues and sanctuaries. They found us on the web and decided to venture out to Laramie. They came out here, spent a day at home on the range and 3 days in Laramie, and just thought it was lovely, and they were going to tell all their friends about it. So hopefully more friends will come out to Laramie and see how great the summers are. Not like today, but summers are great. We also had Cathedral Home residents come out, and they helped do some fencing for the goats and painted and updated our goat yard. We had Wyotech kids come out in the fall, and they reconfigured the paddocks to allow better access to the loafing sheds for the horses and donkeys and ponies in the wintertime. We have a regular group of 3 community members that come out once a week to clean up manure and do improvements and maintenance. We also have 3 Monday morning ladies that come out and love on the donkeys. And then we also had just various families and children's groups and a collection of college students stop out to round it out. Our exciting news was that we were approached by the Albany County Drug Court, and we're going to hook up with them this summer for some youth projects. And then we're going to continue to offer the opportunities to UW and Wyotech students, as well as local elementary and middle school kiddos, because there's really not an opportunity for that demographic to come out and see us. In closing, just real quick, it takes a village, and you guys were part of our village to help us going last year. You gave us about $3,000, and that helped cover 20% of our feed costs for all of our families and animals. So we're grateful for you, and we hope you come out and visit the donkeys and continue with your great support.
Thanks, Pat.
Questions?
City councilors, any questions?
Just want to say thanks.
You're welcome.
And Home on the Range. We appreciate that you're here.
Yeah. Come on, see the donkeys. They're really fun.
Thanks, Pam. Commissioner Rivera has a question for you.
Okay.
This is just a fun question. Who gets to name these animals? You acquire them already with their names.
Everybody shows up with their own name. So we did have a couple kitties, and Sonny, he was named by a WYO Cowboy Academy Challenge kiddo that came out twice. And the kitty was always laying in the sun. And we asked the guy, we said, what do you think his name should be? And he said Sonny, so it stuck. But everybody comes with their own names, so we just embrace it and move forward.
Thanks, Pam.
Thank you.
Aside from the cost, are there any other problems acquiring the various feed that you need, meaning through the chain supply and all? Has that affected you? Or
yeah, we have. We've run into a couple glitches and have had to find a couple resources out of town to get the mash and stuff. Usually we try to work with the feed store A&C, and we had some supply problems with that. And then we usually work with Herbal Connections for our supplements and whatnot, but we've had to outsource from Laramie to get some of that stuff this year. We had to go down to some of the places down in Fort Collins to get those elder supplements for the seniors.
Thank you. That's all.
Thank you, Pam. Have a great evening.
You too. Thanks.
Next up, I've got Big Brothers and Big Sisters. Steve Hamaker. Are you with us, Steve? Good evening.
Where's Steve?
Is Hannah? Hannah, are you talking? Are you speaking to Steve?
I'm coming. Yeah, there we go. Can everybody hear me?
Hey, good evening, Hannah.
Okay.
Floor is yours.
Yeah.
Thank you.
No problem. Thank you guys so much. I just want to thank you for the opportunity to talk a little bit about Big Brothers Big Sisters. We are celebrating our 50th year in Albany County this year. So we've had the privilege of serving thousands of young people and their families throughout those decades, and we truly could not have done any of that without the ongoing support of our community and our local entities. So we are super grateful for the ongoing support that we've received. I think most of you are familiar with Big Brothers Big Sisters, but if you are not, our mission is to create and support mentoring relationships that ignite the power and promise of youth. We know that every kid is capable of doing and achieving incredible things, and we want to make sure that every kid has the support and the tools that they need to fulfill their potential and accomplish those things that matter most to them. Here in Albany County, we have a few different approaches. We have our traditional one-to-one mentoring program that I think most people think of when they think of Big Brothers Big Sisters. We also have after-school programs at 3 local elementary schools and 2 for middle and high schoolers that take place at our facility. And we also have juvenile justice programming that operates in partnership with the county attorney's office to help people who have had law enforcement contact kind of get back on track through things like community service, restitution, tutoring, life skills, and socio-emotional strength building. Our diversion juvenile justice program also helps save money for the county and improve youth outcomes by keeping them out of the court system and out of residential treatment centers, while allowing them to still take accountability for their actions and make better choices moving forward. And in fact, the kids that graduate the diversion program, we have very, very, very low percentages of recidivism and anybody who has graduated the program going on to reoffend. So we're avoiding them becoming involved in the court system even on into the future and down the line. So we're pretty proud of that. So each of these programs has a little bit of a different approach, but they all focus on helping support the youth of this community and growing what's already best about each one of those young people. Last year, we served through those programs about just under 450 kids. That is down a little bit. We saw some people a little bit more hesitant or a little bit more wanting to wait to engage with the pandemic and making sure that they were able to commit and things like that. So we are seeing that need go back up significantly and expect that to continue for quite some time. What's really incredible about mentoring and our service model is that it allows us to meet each child where they're at both when they come in the door and throughout their time with us. So rather than focusing on one specific risk factor like academics or behavior or poverty, parental incarceration, et cetera, we're able to take kind of a more holistic approach and set goals for young people and their families to overcome any and all issues that they may face during their time with us and ensure that they have access to the resources that they need to be successful, regardless of what it is that they're facing. And our research shows that kids in mentoring relationships tend to do better in school. They're more engaged in their learning and more willing to try new things. They have better attitudes towards avoiding risky behavior. They're less likely to start using drugs, alcohol, or tobacco. They get along better with family and peers, and they're more likely to develop healthy habits and have better mental and physical health outcomes both as young people and into adulthood. And kind of most importantly, they have higher levels of self-actualization and set bigger, better goals for themselves, and they believe that they have what it takes to accomplish those things. They're willing to take on those challenges in a way that they might not have been without knowing that they had that person in their corner. So these are the things that we hold ourselves accountable to for all of the youth that we work with. And we also know that the benefits kind of ripple out into the way those kids are interacting with like their families, their classrooms, their teams. It really does have quite an impact on and on out into their circles and into their future. So over the past couple years, like all of us, our young people have been hit with a lot. They're incredibly resilient, but to be candid, they have had some serious struggles. Loss of stability, impact on families, loss of school and extracurricular activities, loneliness, and just prolonged stress have taken and are continuing to take a really significant toll on their overall well-being. Strong relationships and having people that you can count on have always been critical in youth development, but that's never been more true than now. As an organization, we're working hard to mitigate the damaging effects that all of the upheaval and anxiety has had on our kids, but the needs are definitely rising, and we are seeing more and more folks seeking out support systems and looking for help as we all try to figure out kind of what the world looks like now and how we're going to be able to move forward. So that is our goal, and we feel like we are positioned as an organization to approach that in a very effective way, given that we work with kids and families one-on-one. So thank you all for your ongoing support. It's been great to be a part of this community that is so invested in making sure that people have what they need to survive, thrive, and be successful. So we thank you so much for your support, and I would be happy to entertain any questions.
Thank you, Hannah. Commissioner Rivera has a question for you.
Sure.
Yeah, Hannah, this is going to really reveal my naivety or my lack of knowledge of your organization. But while I know it serves youth between the ages of 5 and 18, I recently found out that older gentleman in the community is one of the mentors, and I wanted to know, what is the age limit for your mentors?
There is no age limit. We do have, I think our oldest mentor in Albany County is 87. He is in a site-based match, which means that they come to our building once a week. And this is the coolest match. They are amazing. They build rockets. They talk about nuclear physics. They learned how to knit. They learned the history of tea. They're incredible. They are just such an amazing match. And I think they've been matched now for 4 or 5 years. So they've really kind of grown up together, and they're just wonderful. It's such a delight to see them in the building every week because they're just always trying something new. And wouldn't you know it, when we came back from the pandemic and working from home, that little guy was suddenly taller than me, and we're just happy to have had him be involved for this long. So we don't have an age limit on volunteers, and we don't have any, restrictions for the kiddos that we serve. There's no income limits, or they don't have to come from single parent families or be struggling in any certain way. So we are pretty open.
That's nice to see this gentleman out with his little brother.
Yeah.
And oftentimes older community members have more resources available to them, of opportunities that they can do with their little brothers or little sisters. And so I was really pleased to see this. And again, I was not even aware that it could go up to that age. I've always known sort of younger and into the college age, but I was very impressed by this community member who was a mentor. And
yes, they're great. And we do our best to match bigs and littles based on things like personality, interests, things like that. We want them to have a strong foundation to grow that relationship on. So truly, there is a kid for every person that could benefit from interacting with you. Maybe they just want to participate in the activities that you already participate in. So it's a great way to kind of share your interests and knowledge with somebody who might be excited about the same things.
Thanks, Hannah.
Thank you.
Thank you, Hannah. City councilors, any questions for Hannah? All right. Well, it doesn't look like that. Hannah, thank you so much for the work you do. Thanks for being here tonight. Appreciate it.
Thanks so much.
Next up, Laramie Reproductive Health. Oh, Mayor Weaver.
Chairman Grosser, I was just waving goodbye to Hannah. We're okay.
Okay. All right. I thought I had cut off your question. Next up, Laramie Reproductive Health with Naomi Bowl. Naomi, good evening. The floor is yours.
Thanks so much. Thanks so much, County Commissioners, Mayor Weaver, and City Council members. From everyone at LRH, we greatly appreciate your continued support. For those of you who don't know about LRH, though I'm sure everyone is aware of us, we provide affordable, quality, and inclusive reproductive and sexual health care, education, and counseling to anyone seeking healthcare education in a supportive, non-judgmental, and professional environment. We've been breaking down barriers in accessing quality, affordable healthcare since 1971. So that means we've got Hannah beat by 1 year. We've been open 51 years. We are the only low to no cost clinic in Albany County, specializing in reproductive and sexual healthcare. And our services are provided on a sliding fee scale. We submit claims to insurance companies, and that makes sure that visits are affordable no matter what someone's income is. We are a nonprofit organization, so we're headed by a board of directors and overseen by a medical director. We provide a variety of services. Some of our top appointment types are annual wellness exams. We do a lot of sexually transmitted infection testing, a variety of problem visits for urinary tract infections, yeast infections, general reproductive issues, and of course, contraception. But too, preconception counseling, pregnancy testing, variety of other counseling. And we really try to provide a comprehensive services for all of our patients when it comes to reproductive and sexual health care. In 2021, we completed 315 annual visits. So as far as maintaining the health of our community throughout the year with annual visits, we're definitely making an impact. We saw 729 patients for nurse visits and completed 275 tests for sexually transmitted infections and, of course, treatment if needed. Also in 2021, we saw 144 new patients who were living at or below 100% of the federal poverty line. 35% of all of our patients qualify under this 100% of the federal poverty line. And what that means for them is they receive services free of charge. An additional 226 new patients that we received in 2021 were living below 250% of the federal poverty line. Overall, that's 57% of our patients living within those income guidelines. And what that means is they qualified for our sliding fee scale. So the price of their appointment would slide depending on where their income lied. With COVID-19, we remained open as an essential healthcare facility. Through generous donations, grant opportunities, we have actually become stronger, I think, throughout this process. We've implemented telehealth. I've been working with the Wyoming Health Council and national organizations in implementing telehealth and reproductive health centers. And we're really leading not just Wyoming, but the nation in those efforts. We do our best to accommodate same-day appointments. And we've extended our hours, so we have some early morning appointments starting at 8 o'clock, We have some late night appointments ending at 6 o'clock, and we now have Saturday appointments as well, really helping to ensure that if folks have a hard time getting off of work, finding childcare, whatever the trouble might be, we're finding a way to accommodate for them. We offer a lot of free products to patients and the community as well. One example of this is our free feminine hygiene products campaign that was started with COVID. Of course, we have free face masks, dental dams, condoms, both male and females. And we've installed some condom dispensers downtown at some very popular establishments. I've actually been a bit shocked with how many are distributed in our community. So that will really help to decrease the spread of communicable disease. We've updated our clinic equipment through very generous grant funding, everything from desktops to laptop computers, back-end file storage systems, new phone systems, new exam tables, exam lights, furniture. We've really upgraded our clinic. But for the financial aspect, we've made our services more accessible to our patients by expanding upon our sliding fee scale. So before, not everything may have been covered under that sliding fee scale, but now it is. As far as the direct city and county requests for community partner funds, those will go towards LARCs, which are long-acting reproductive contraceptive devices. They are by far the most expensive service that we offer. And so that is going to make a huge impact on our patients' ability to obtain those services, both for contraception and other reproductive health needs. So again, I just really appreciate you taking the time to meet with all of the community members here, and I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Thank you, Naomi. We don't have any questions at the commission. City councilors, any questions for Naomi of Laramie Reproductive Health?
Great. Thank you so much.
All right. Have a great evening, Naomi. Thank you. Next up, Albany County State Project, Farron Babbitt. Farron, good evening.
Hi, can you guys hear me?
Loud and clear. Thank you so much.
All right, good evening. Thank you for inviting our agencies to talk about all of the awesome work that we do. So SAFE Project is Laramie's domestic violence and sexual assault program. So we also serve survivors of trafficking, child abuse, and vulnerable adult abuse. And our mission is to advocate for and empower survivors of stalking, intimate partner, family, and sexual violence. Our education and awareness efforts focus on prevention and improved community response. SAFE Project offers many services, but our most well-known services are probably our emergency shelter, our 24-hour hotline, legal assistance, and client financial assistance. Clients do not have to meet any income requirements to receive services, but the vast majority of our clients do live in poverty, which makes our services even more vital to the community. In 2021, we were incredibly busy. We served over 400 clients in Albany County. It was our busiest year yet. Our staff helped clients to file orders of protection, attend law enforcement and prosecution interviews, help them to find sustainable housing and employment. We offer a lot of community resource referrals to different agencies in Albany County because we know it really does take a village to do the work that we do. We offer transitional housing to our clients as well. We have a large volunteer and internship program, and we partner with the UW School of Social Work for that. We have several practicum students who work with us on an annual basis. In 2021, the need for financial assistance was the highest we've ever seen, and we gave clients over $65,000 in financial assistance. Our staff provide ongoing crisis intervention and case management so that clients can achieve lasting sustainability and safety. Our advocacy team play an active role in our clients' lives beyond helping with acute crisis situations. I think a lot of people think that we offer emergency shelter and a hotline, and that's really all we do, but we spend a lot of time working with our clients for a long time to make sure that they stay safe. And in addition to advocacy services, we offer a large and comprehensive prevention and outreach program in the community. We facilitate over 100 presentations each year, and we employ a full-time prevention coordinator who works with kids in Albany County. And she partners with the school district, youth services agencies to provide primary prevention education to kids preschool through 12th grade. During the pandemic, our staff was available 24 hours a day, 365 days a year to people in Albany County. So community partner funds really help to sustain all of the work that we do. We operate our 24-hour shelter with 17 beds, and it's expensive. It takes a lot of money to do property maintenance, pay utilities, things like that. Our insurance costs a lot of money, and community partner funds help with that. The funding also helps to support administrative salaries for fundraising, which is more important now than ever because we're busier now than we've ever been before. And our community partner funds help to sustain our outreach program. So it's really difficult to secure prevention funding from federal grants. And so funding that we receive from our community partners helps us to go into schools and to go to places like the Crisis Center, Cathedral Home, and teach kids about healthy families, healthy friendships at an age appropriate level. And we know that best practice is teaching kids about safety and bodily autonomy and consent from the time they're little, right? We've waited too long if we wait until a child is 18 and in college before we talk to them about those things. And so we're really proud of all of the work that we do in the community. And we're really proud of our clients and how brave they are and how much of an impact they make on our community. And so really, like, your support, local government support, is critical to our program. Big federal funders want to see that we have support from our local government, and we've been really grateful to have ongoing support from all of you on the city council and our county commissioners, because we couldn't do the work that we do without you as a supporter. So thank you so much. I want to open it up to questions if you have any. Happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Farron. Commissioner Barra, please.
Hi, Farron. How are you tonight?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good, thanks.
Good.
Farron, I just have one question. Do you continue to get support from community for volunteers to be trained for the hotline and to respond to those calls? And do they generally tend to be the university age students?
Yeah. So we have a big volunteer base, about 25 to 30 active volunteer advocates. They're required to go through a 40-hour advocacy training to volunteer, and they staff our hotline. Susan Simpson, I know you all know Susan Simpson. She comes into the office every Monday and works as our office aide while we have a 4-hour-long staff meeting every week. We have volunteers who go grocery shopping for the shelter. And yeah, the vast majority of our hotline advocates are college students. However, we're really fortunate to have some awesome retired folks who have plenty of time and energy to volunteer for SAFE. And yeah, we could not do the work we do without our volunteers, for sure. They make a huge impact.
Years ago, I was trained and went through the 40 hours and all. Has that changed? Has the training been updated to accommodate whatever we found out since, and approaches and all?
Yeah, the training constantly changes. You know, we really are proud to stay at the forefront of what's considered best practice, especially with trauma-informed care. And there's a lot that we know about domestic violence and sexual assault that we didn't used to know, right? And trends change, reporting options change in the community. Community resources are constantly changing. Laws are constantly changing. So yeah, it's really important for us to stay up to date on the best way to go about advocating for our clients so that we can train our volunteers to do the same. And when SAFE first started in 1980, I think the training was just a couple of hours long, which is mind-blowing considering how much there is to know. So we've come a long way with the advocacy training, and I would invite any of you to participate in that if you're ever interested in just seeing what it's like and learning more. It's really awesome. It's a great experience.
Thank you, Farron.
Yeah.
Thanks, Farron. City councilors, any questions for Farron? Okay. Okay, Baron, thank you so much.
Thank
Appreciate
you
it.
all. Have a great evening.
Goodbye. Hey, Paul, if I could do the next two and then you take it from there, that would be great, at least in the green that I'm seeing here.
Okay.
Okay, awesome. Next up, Laramie Interfaith. Josh, are you with us? Hey, good evening, Josh. How are you?
Hi, I'm doing well. Hello, everyone. I think most of you know me. I'm the director of Laramie Interfaith. We're focused on housing stability and food security. We have our pantry here in Laramie and a pantry up in Rock River, and 2 offices here in Laramie for housing security. I think I had a quick slide, one graphic or something. Maybe you guys have that, just to kind of talk about what we saw last year that we didn't, I guess we couldn't have predicted. We didn't know what was going to happen. And sort of the impact that the community partner funding dollars had in order to move quickly last year and look at these grants and all of the CARES and COVID funding that came through. We tried to accept things without things being black and white. And in the grant world, that's kind of concerning. We don't know if there's going to be a match. We don't know if we need to be contributing or pitching into things. And so we leveraged the community partner funding towards some of these grants, not sure how they would work. Traditionally, community partner funding has always gone towards providing emergency shelter for folks, travelers and transients who come through town, as well as our residents, looking at utilities and housing and things like that. And that's where it's going to remain. I did include that in my report to you as well. We didn't end up sort of needing that, but as others have talked about, you know, the federal grants, they like to know that we have other people who are invested in us. We have matching funds, we have things like that. So we kept that to the side, and we were able to bring in about $250,000 to the community through a statewide grant program that hasn't been here in Albany County, which gave us, you know, a ton more resources to help people. In the beginning of the COVID, the start of COVID, we saw our numbers jump from about 270, I think, in 2019 up to 364 households that we were able to assist. Last year in 2021, we were able to assist over 700 households in the county. And this is outside of the state of Wyoming's ERAP program. One of the other major differences in that funding that we were able to secure is that in past years, because our resources have been so limited, sometimes we get into a situation where we have to look at what is the minimum effective dollar amount to help folks. They come and they might have months behind in their rent. They might be looking at an eviction. You know, what is the minimum amount that we can put towards something to have an effect, to have an impact, without necessarily completely funding them? In 2021, we funded all requests at 100%. We ended up funding a little over $500,000 in requests outside of the ERAP program. And then on top of that, that ERAP office that's over in West Laramie, we were able to process what we think is about 250 applications. The state of Wyoming doesn't share a whole lot of metrics on that, and we only help with the application side. We don't make the funding determinations, but you know, on the state side, I think right now we're pretty close to $1.5 million that have come into the county for that. So we're happy to contribute to that and have been helped by that. And so, you know, when we're talking about the community partner funding, that flexibility, your investment in us and the sort of freedom that we get with that, it really means a lot when we're looking at all of these rapidly changing programs, the opportunity to bring in new funding, the opportunity to try new things. We're going to continue to do that. We're going to continue to look for new ways to help our community. Really excited about a partnership and a pilot program that we've just started with VOA here in town, where we're going to try and work with folks from complete homelessness all the way to stable housing. and jobs and job security, and that's a really long journey for folks. So we won't have some huge numbers out of that. We're just going to try it with a few folks and tweak things as we go. But getting VOA on board and having that mental health support, as many others have talked about, that mental health component is huge when we're trying to get people into a better future. Most of you know, and if you haven't been by yet, our pantry is just about complete. It's about 2,000 square feet of extra space that we were able to get started on, and then we'll start seeing more food hopefully come in as well. That's been a really long journey, and the city has been an amazing partner with that too. So we're looking forward to all the great things we can keep doing this year.
Thank you, Josh. Councilors, any questions for Josh?
Josh, it's good for us to get a chance to have you kind of give us a little bit of a report over a year or so, even in the limited time frame. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Josh. Have a great evening.
Thank you.
Mayor Weaver, you want to take it from there? I know I told you to, but how about I just get ready for the next one after this one?
Sure. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And honestly, thank you for taking a couple of those. I really appreciate the break. And I apologize to everyone. I really did need to get some sort of food happening there. So thank you so much for bearing with me. Thanks again, Mr. Chairman. Greatly appreciated. Next up, we have Epson Center for Seniors Community Partner. And I see we've got Tammy Comer, the Executive Director here. Thank you for being here, and I'll just turn it over to you.
Absolutely. Well, good evening, Mayor Weaver, Vice Mayor Pierce, members of City Council and Commissioners. I'm Tammy Comer, and thank you guys so much for inviting me to join our presentations this evening. For the last 49 years, the Epson Center for Seniors has provided community services in Laramie that revolve around our mission of being dedicated to providing lifelong support for independent living. We currently are doing that with 17 employees, which are 7 full-time and 10 part-time, for a total of 12 FTE. And we use a network of over 130 volunteers to work with our home delivered meal program, as well as our board members and community members. And so those people donated over 5,500 hours last year towards volunteering for the center. So we absolutely could not do it without the help of many volunteers. The assistance that we receive from the city and Albany County is so valuable to our mission, as it helps us to provide those matching funds for those federal and state grants, showing that our community is interested in and wanting to be involved with what the Epson Center does. We could not do it without the help of your funding, because it does give us that additional just leverage to have money that's not necessarily directed specifically towards programs. We use that money to offset some of the rising food costs, as well as the rest of our administrative, so personnel costs in both our transportation and our nutrition department. In fiscal year 2022, we're working with a budget of just over $1 million, which is an increased budget from what we're used to looking at. The reason behind that is because we have, of course, seen increased costs with food and supply needs, and so that's really making a big difference for us. And the other positive, but hard to kind of even imagine for, is the fact that we are increasing our meal numbers considerably each year. So last year, we do our figures on a fiscal year, which ends at the end of September. And so fiscal year 21, we did 36,279 meals. And that was both through our curbside program, as the center was closed to diners inside, and our home delivered meals. And that was an increase of 2,641 meals from the year before, so an additional 220 meals per month. Our transportation provided rides to over 4,700 rides, which is about 400 rides per month. Our wellness center loan closet has loaned out over 440 pieces of equipment. So we do durable medical equipment so that folks that are having surgery or, needing some kind of just walking assistance can have something to get a hold of that's right here in town. And of course, that's free of charge. In our activities and events section, we were open the past fiscal year. We opened back up for activities in March of 2020, and we were able to provide nearly 35,000 check-ins for people. Some of that consisted of us reaching out to them via telephone, via Zoom meetings, via just different kinds of access to those clients. And so that's actually been something that's been really great for us to be able to be challenged with. How do we get to these people when they can't come in or they don't feel comfortable coming in? And so that's really been a welcome change for us. We do all of the services that we provide on a donation-only basis for those over the age of 60. Our strength as a center, we have a fabulous group of really dedicated and passionate employees. Our volunteers, of course, are another huge strength. Our collaborations with other social service agencies is really important to us. Like Ted had mentioned, that they share some of the food with us, and what we do is turn around and get that food out to our clients. And so working with all of these community groups is really important for us. Another strength for us has been the resilience that we showed through the pandemic. And I think that also shows the things that you don't even have in your mind, you can actually do. And so we were quite resilient and very flexible with the way that we were delivering our services as times changed, and have been. We just recently, at the beginning of February, brought back our Congregate meal program. So we are officially open, which is great news. It's very exciting around here again to have the voices, and folks have really missed being able to just be part of that community. So every day we're just grateful that we're having more and more folks in the center and that people do feel comfortable. So that's been wonderful. Our challenges are increased food costs and supply costs. Of course, those are going up. Our maintenance costs as well, vehicle shortages. And so many more things that we could talk about, but I really do appreciate your time and your commitment to the services that the Epson Center provides. And if anyone has any questions, I'd love to be able to answer them.
Thank you very much, Tammy, for all of that information. And we're sorry to be keeping everybody tight on the clock. We just have so many agencies here.
It's a long night for you guys.
Yeah, and we're happy to do it. It's logistics. Any questions for Tammy about Epson Center? Well, we want to give our message to you of gratitude and thanks for the work that you're doing.
Absolutely.
And it's very, very important. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much for having me. Have a good evening.
All right.
We were just waiting to be called up.
Council members, now we have a presentation from our community partner, the Downtown Clinic.
Well, good evening. I'm Mayor Weaver, members of the City Council staff, Commissioner Rivera, and county staff. I got a little jog around the podium here, and thank you for hosting it for community partners. I do represent the Downtown Clinic. I've been the executive director for the last 8 years. What we do, we provide healthcare services to low-income, uninsured people, and help people navigate what can be a Byzantine American healthcare system. Community partner funding helps to offset the cost of our pharmacy manager, which is either a second year or third year pharmacy student, and then help us to afford prescription medicines that we couldn't otherwise afford. That funding is assisted community partner funding, helps us to leverage other outside funding sources for prescription medicines. We receive a lot of prescription medicines online. So one of our major partners online is Direct Relief. Just a month ago, they sent me their 2021 wholesale dedicated prescriptions to the Downtown Clinic, over $20,000 in wholesale prescription medicines from Direct Relief to the people in Albany County. I've left the request 5,000 from each the city and the county as before. It hasn't changed since I took over as director, even though pharmacy costs have, prescription medicines have increased by more than double digits. We also have, because we have this program, the ability to dispense nearly 5,000 prescription meds every year. More than 90% of our clients require some sort of prescription medicine. And now in this last year, we had 2 days a week where we had a pharmacist on site at least part of the day. What was really a nice idea from one of our AmeriCorps volunteers last year was to affix those people who contributed to our pharmacy program to the bags of prescription medicines as we handed them out to our clients. So the community partner funding was put on a sticker on the outside of all prescription medicines handed out for an entire month. With that said, I think what really is the importance of community partner funding, like many have said before, it is important that the community engage with us. We're kind of a youngster here with only 23 years of service, but you know, it does matter. And I think for us, that is the key. The most important thing I think that we have to get across to people is that they matter. And so often they come to us with the idea that they just don't much matter. And so I really do appreciate the funding, and I would stand for any questions that you had.
Questions? Questions for Mr. Gosar? And I'm not seeing any.
Thank you, Mayor Weaver. Thank you, councilors. Have a nice night.
Appreciate it. You put that hat back on the hat rack and put the other one on. Chairman Gosar, we appreciate the information. All right. Next, we've got the Laramie Youth Crisis Center program of Cathedral Home, and we have waiting for our presenter. There. Sorry about that, Mr. Kettles. Thank you. Over to you.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much. I want to thank the commissioners, the council members, Mayor Weaver. My name is Corey Kettles. I'm the coordinator of the Laramie Youth Crisis Center, have been for the past 5 years. And since 1981, the Laramie Youth Crisis Center has consistently been able to work with youth and families who are in need, and that can look like a lot of different scenarios. Of course, these past couple years have been a little bit more challenging with the pandemic. Being a 24-hour, 7-day-a-week service, we were limited in being able to use virtual options. We still had normal daily operating costs, normal daily operating activities. We were able to keep our doors open the entire time and still continue to serve our community. With those services, we always have our 24/7 crisis hotline, and we provide shelter care, which looks like crisis shelter stays for youth that are possibly struggling at home, struggling within their family unit. And that's for youth anywhere from the ages of newborn infants all the way up to 17 years of age. We continue to provide respite care and therapeutic breaks for youth and families that are in need just during those kind of hectic times. We also have the Safe Exchange program, which are therapeutic breaks, and visitation purposes in the case of parents that are in contentious separation or divorce circumstances. We're able to provide a safe haven for those youth to come in and really provide that exchange without the parents having to be in any kind of contact with each other. Along with our shelter care, we have our group home services, and that fits the need for those youth that have that extend beyond crisis care, more long-term services. It looks like for a lot of our youth that are maybe awaiting a foster care placement, a higher level of care, or maybe they're transitioning back from a higher level of care. What is great is just this year, our DFS standards and policies have changed so that we're now able to open up our group home services to any community member, family that possibly needs those. Where in past years, those had to be court driven and a child had to be court placed in a group home bed. That opens up a lot of services for those that are in need in our community. We still struggle with only 2 group home beds at the moment to be able to offer, but it is a great step in being able to continue to help a little bit more long-term for those that need it in our community. We're still working very closely with the Albany County School District, with our ACES program, which is for any student in a public school that has been suspended or expelled. Those students are able to come to the crisis center voluntarily work with a licensed teacher and continue on their studies academically while we continue to provide support for the family. Through all those different services that we provide, we were able to offer crisis placements for 196 different placements this year. That's 50 more than we had last year, and then we provided services to. We provided 567 more days of crisis service care to those individuals, and over 100 days of group home service care. So we're really seeing the need in our community and in the surrounding communities for youth to have a safe place to be able to receive services, really focused on the mental health and behavioral needs that those kids deserve and that they need to be able to return home and be a successful part of a successful family unit. We really want to thank both the county and the city for their continued support. And I'd definitely like to answer any questions that you all may have at this time.
Well, thank you very much for that review, and I will see if we have any questions. I don't see any. Directors, you guys are doing a good job of giving us a rundown and touching the high points for us.
Thank you all. Have a great evening.
Very much appreciate it. Thank you, Mr. Cattles. Have a good one. Let's move on to the next community partner. Build Mothers. Yes. City Clerk.
If I could just ask if we have a representative from Build Mothers Build the World. I don't see the name I had listed. So if you could raise your hand so we could acknowledge you, that'd be great.
Thank you, City Clerk. Sometimes availability changes. We understand. I'm not seeing a hand in the attendees, City Clerk.
I do not either, Mayor.
Council members, and if I might, also commissioners, I suppose if we have questions for that community partner, we could use the email contact that's provided in the application. And we'll use this time now to move on to the next agency on the list, City Clerk, which is United Way of Albany County. And I think we have the United Way Director, Evelyn Edson, with us, and welcome.
Yes, hi, can everyone hear me?
Absolutely.
Awesome. Thank you all so much for doing this and having this. I know it's a long night, and I know all of us nonprofits and organizations appreciate it. So I will try to be quick. I am here on behalf of United Way to request assistance for our VITA program, which is our Volunteer Income Tax Assistance Program. This is in partnership with the University of Wyoming College of Business, the IRS, and then also with the Civic Center's help as well. And what we do is every year, from the first week in February all the way through April 15th, we file free income tax returns for households with incomes under $60,000. This is a huge effort and undertaking with the assistance of the university. We have students who come in with Professor Marcel to file income tax returns, and then Professor Marcel herself self-checks every single one of those tax returns that get submitted. Due to COVID, we did have to put in a bunch of restrictions last year and this year, including a scheduling system. So normally on any given year, we'll file over 700 returns for the community. But last year it was 412. And this came out to $660,000 that was brought back into the community through tax returns. And that works itself out to about $1,500 per household that filed with us. Another thing that we saw during COVID that was really amazing, and I think a great service that brought back to the community through this program, and we have added to for this purpose, which is we saw a lot of like Lyft drivers, DoorDash drivers, if I can get it out. But small businesses with one employee or where they have to track their own information, but didn't have the income to hire a CPA of their own. And so this year we've added a small business line. And so we will file for those individuals as well. This is a huge program for our community, which brings a lot of dollars back in and provides assistance for individuals who might have to pay for taxes, which can be a big cost burden. The other thing that we saw during COVID was that households who would not legally be required to file, so if you made under $12,000 in the course of a year, needed to file to access child earned income credits, to get all kinds of the CARES Act money that came through, and our volunteers were there and able to help people access that money, which was so crucial. And also this year in filing their taxes, understanding what they have to claim and how it has to be recorded. And so we are so grateful for the support that everyone gives through the county and through the city in assistance of this program. And I just want to leave you with one story. Our very first night filing, a dad came in and we were filing his tax return, and he came back to close to $15,000. And he sat there, and you just saw his shoulders drop. And he said, "My wife can buy a car to get to work now." And so just thinking about something as simple as filing a tax return can make an impact on someone's life. So thank you so much. And I'd be happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Thank you for that presentation and for that story. Council members, do we have any questions for United Way? United Way, another agency that we're very fortunate to have active in our community and doing what they do. Thank you so much.
Thank you guys, and good to see you all, and have a lovely rest of your evening.
You too. Take care. All right. Get to our next agency, and that will be the Laramie Salvation Army.
Well, good evening. Hello, my name is Sasha Schlump, and I'd like Honorable Mayor Weaver and council members, thank you for this opportunity. We really appreciate this opportunity to talk to you. Hang on, I'm sorry.
No problem.
As a long-term board member, I'm very glad to be part of the Salvation Army of Laramie, where we value doing the best we can for those in hard times. Since we are a service extension unit, we're the smallest unit in the Salvation Army structure, so there's no spiritual component to the work we provide, nor is there an associated church. The volunteers of Salvation Army Laramie believe that the best investment that can be made is to help people find or keep a place to stay. With this in mind, most of the assistance that we give out is in the form of utilities, rent, or lodging. With the goal of helping people with housing, our work is focused on people to stay or transition into stable housing. The importance of our help can be shown in a story that one of our clients shared with us. And this is a story from our last fiscal year. And this client said, "This is for whomever is responsible for giving me life under the shelter of the Salvation Army. I can't say enough. I'm lost for words. You all saved my life and made me feel alive again because of your gift of temporary shelter and help with my immediate need of medicine. God bless you all that were involved in the Salvation Army. I don't know what to say. Like I said, lost for words, just lost." God bless all of you, and don't think I don't appreciate this, because I do, and will never forget what all you have done. Thanks to everyone involved. So as you can see from that story, we helped this person through some hard times, and it shows the importance of our work. By helping people with their immediate need for temporary lodging or rent, it gives them time to connect with other agencies, such as ERAP, which is Emergency Rental Assistance Program. ERAP does help homeless people transition into stable housing, but it does not pay for lodging until a place to stay can be found. So statewide in Wyoming, they have had 717 households that are homeless without a current residence been approved for the ERAP program. But unfortunately, only 97 households have already successfully obtained housing. So that means there's a 14% of the people have received assistance, and the rest just don't have a place to stay until they can get in to that ERAP program. So, there's no homeless shelter in Laramie. So Salvation Army of Laramie helps to provide them the lodging that they need. We also work with other agencies to help people with their housing. There are some expenses like application fees that other agencies are not able to help with. By filling in these funding gaps, we are able to help work with other agencies to get people the help they need. But unfortunately, because of the lack of affordable housing and the lack of funding, if someone has a support system elsewhere, Salvation Army of Laramie helps with getting people to where they need to go by providing a bus ticket. In our last fiscal year, we spent $16,316 on housing. In the first quarter of the current fiscal year, we have spent $1,850 for the same need. Since the need is so great, we've only been able to meet about 30% of the request for housing assistance in our last fiscal year. So although people were helped, when it comes to helping with rent or lodging, we could do more as an agency. Salvation Army of Laramie is run by a staff of dedicated volunteers, so most of our funding goes directly to client services. Our commitment to helping others is evident in that 2 volunteers have worked directly with clients for the past 4 years. Because of this commitment, ongoing relationships have been developed with both clients and other agencies, and we have helped many stay in their homes. So in conclusion, I'd just like to thank the City of Laramie for the support that they have given Salvation Army of Laramie. It's truly helped us to make a difference in the lives of Albany County residents. Thank you.
Thank you. And we appreciate it. Do we have any questions? Again, good summaries. I don't think I see any hands up at the Commissioner's Chamber. So, well, thank you again.
Have a great evening. Thank you again.
You're very welcome. And you do the same. Pleased to see you. The next community partner is Relative Theatrics. And
Mayor?
Yes.
Tonight, Relative Theatrics was not able to join us, but they did send us a video. So if it's okay with the commissioners and the council, I'll go ahead and display that video here. Let me just find the correct one.
Mayor Weaver, commissioners and councilors, thank you for taking the time this evening to hear from the many impactful organizations.
Can you see that, Mayor?
We can. We're getting some buffering. But the sound and video are coming through okay. It's pausing intermittently.
Okay. All right. I'll go ahead and start it again here.
Oh, you paused it. Okay. Yes. Yeah. We're good on the audio and the visual.
Okay.
Good evening, Honorable Mayor Weaver, commissioners and councilors. Thank you for taking the time this evening to hear from the many impactful organizations that make Laramie and Albany County a better place to call home. Additionally, thank you for accepting this pre-recorded presentation for me while I'm away at Leadership Wyoming, strengthening my ability to successfully lead at work, home, and in the
City Clerk, now we're having trouble with the audio.
Our mission is to present thought-provoking theater that examines the joining qualities of the human race. Taking artistic risk, we provide a community gathering place where thoughts can be exchanged about society, culture, and the power of creativity. The Relative Theatrics experience draws audience members into the world of our plays and sparks nuanced dialogue. In an effort to further promote audience engagement, we provide resources and discussion questions in our play programs. And this season marked our first year of a community organization partnership program, which paired an influential nonprofit with a Relative Theatrics production in order to amplify their mission and raise awareness about the needs of our local nonprofits. The program has allowed for moving theater-going experiences that serve as a gateway to heightened civic engagement, volunteerism, and financial support for these critical organizations, including Hospice of Laramie and Interfaith. Our work goes beyond entertainment, as demonstrated by this community building partnership program, as well as through university collaborations that strengthen the town and gown relationship in Laramie. Our events happen throughout the year, and we're nimble enough to pivot to new approaches and to meet community needs as they arise. The creative problem solving demonstrated by our staff and artists are a major contributing factor to the growth that we've experienced as a thriving local arts organization, which we have witnessed both prior to and in the midst of the COVID-19 pandemic. Throughout the past year, we have continued to produce thought-provoking theater and to bring folks together in both live and virtual settings. As we look to the future, we are committed to creating a safe and healthy environment where artists can develop their best work and audiences can confidently gather in public spaces to benefit from the mental, physical, emotional, and communal health benefits of the theater arts. Prior to the COVID-19 pandemic, ticket sales were increasing annually, and we expect the trend to continue as we return to live theater. Due to the return of our growing audience base and the need for public health protocols, we've hired a part-time patron services manager. We've also hired a technical director to oversee venue operations. The creation of these new hires reflects our commitment to growing a sustainable workforce in Albany County that contributes to a thriving creative economy. We're proud to now oversee a staff of 6 part-time positions, as well as a core of young theater interns and apprentices. And we will also add an education director in the coming year to oversee a new theater education program in Albany County schools. With organizational expansion, there is an increase in human resources and production costs. We wish to keep ticket prices at a reasonable and accessible level while finding ways to pay for these costs and to fairly compensate our staff and artistic team for the greater workload. We are grateful to the city and county for awarding us funding in the past, which has counted toward matching funds for grants from the Wyoming Arts Council, Wyoming Humanities, and the Wyoming Cultural Trust Fund. The monies relative theatrics received this year have already allowed us to safely support a talented community of local artists while warmly engaging audience members at our live and virtual plays and readings, many of whom have shared with us that relative theatrics is a major resource for Laramie, Albany County, and the state of Wyoming. This year, we're seeking increased funding in order to produce our 10th season of high-quality plays and community events for Albany County residents from July 2022 to June 2023. We look forward to celebrating a decade of risky, relevant, real theater in Laramie, and will produce 3 contemporary plays and a series of readings of new multicultural plays, while also implementing a 5th grade theater and literacy program that teaches students to write their own short plays, which are then published and produced by local artists. Relative theatrics improves the quality, character, and economic health of Laramie and Albany County in myriad ways. A thriving cultural scene helps to attract and retain new businesses and a young, active workforce. We stimulate the Laramie economy by partnering with local businesses for cross-promotion and by bringing in audience members and artists from outside communities, as well as by producing theater that allows us to support local organizations and artists. Ultimately, our innovative work helps Laramie by contributing a vital element to a vibrant local art scene that vastly improves the quality of life here in Albany County. Thank you for your time and consideration.
All right, video message from Ann Mason and update on the work of relative theatrics. Next up is Albany County Project graduation.
Mayor, I am not seeing Nicole Wade on the meeting tonight. Assistant City Manager Todd Fieser, I don't know if you were planning to present.
Honorable Mayor, sorry about that. I was kind of working away on some other projects and forgot about my duties. But for this purpose, I'm here. I'm Todd Fieser. I'm one of the chairs of the Entertainment Committee for Project Graduation. I hope you give me just a second to get caught back up with where I'm at. But as many of you may or may not know, Project Graduation has been serving Laramie and the surrounding area since 1986. The only year that it hadn't been held since 1986 was 2020 due to COVID cancellations. What it provides is an all-night drug and alcohol-free event for graduates from Laramie High School, Whiting High School, Rock River, and then homeschooled students from Albany County. The purpose of Project Graduation is to keep these graduates safe and provide a positive, meaningful, all-inclusive last event for what they've accomplished by graduating high school. That's kind of interesting, and I say this jokingly. I'm on the committee, but I'm not sure my daughter is actually going to graduate at this point. I'm just, no, Paul, you didn't laugh. That.
Well, I understand.
Project Graduation is primarily funded through community businesses and individuals, and it's supported in part by parents of graduating seniors, which makes for a very busy time. We bring in hypnotists, we provide entertainment, we provide many prizes. This year will be a game show themed prize where we're going to be doing some Plinko, some Let's Make a Deal, and some items like that. And really for the parents of this committee to do all the fundraising, provide the event, provide the support, the food, and everything that goes on. It's a heavy lift from year to year. And keep in mind that these committees change year after year, because unless you've got graduates that are year after year, you may not serve on more than one project graduation. And thank goodness my kids are 10 years apart. So 10 years from now, when I'm look more like a grandfather, I'll be ready to host another project graduation for one of my children. We've got a pretty substantial budget ahead of us. We're planning on expending about $16,000. That includes hiring entertainment, paying for inflatables, providing prizes and awards, partial rental of the Ice and Event Center that's been waived partially by the city of Laramie already, and some other items. We really hope that this is a continuing support, because it really does provide a value impact for a lot of our residents, not only for the city of Laramie, but for Albany County, and I'll be happy to answer any questions from here forward.
Questions? Councilmember Schuster.
Thank you. I hope your daughter heard everything you said. Since I've met her, I think she's great. As a participant in several of these, since I had several kids, and thank goodness, like you, they were spaced a couple of years apart each time. Enjoyed every minute of it doing it. So hope it is very successful for you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Mr. Fieser about project graduation? Well, we wish you all the best of luck, and wish you luck on those graduation hopes. I'm sure they'll come to fruition. Okay. Thank you. Let's move to Laramie BikeNet. Who is our guest from Laramie BikeNet? Looks like Chris Smith. Go right ahead.
Hi there. Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Okay, great. Oh, cool. There's my slideshow. Great. All right. So thank you all for the opportunity again to request funding through this granting process. And this is for the Winter Trails Program, which is under the Laramie BikeNet nonprofit organization. And in case you are not familiar with Laramie BikeNet, it's been an organization since about 1996. We host various programs. One that I'm super proud of is the 7220 mountain bike team, who in 2021 won the state championship for Division III. So proud of our racing speed goats. And another program is we give away helmets to youth. We also host a Laramie youth cycling clinic for middle school age kids, and lots of other things that we do for the community that all center on cycling in and around Laramie. We're requesting $1,250 to support the Winter Trails Grooming Program. And so if you want to move to slide 2. And so, yeah, so when we groom the multi-use trails up at Happy Jack, they are for anyone and everyone: snowshoers, hikers, runners, skiers, fat bikers, dogs. And it is a great trail system. The trails are marked. You can see where the mutt trails are. There's large loops to access, and it's just a great system. So the support we need is funding for maintenance of our snow dog. And so that was the snow dog is the machine that you see, yep, there too. And so basically, you know, the thing takes a lot of maintenance, fuel, and also we use funding to help our partner. That's the Medicine Bow Nordic Association. They hold the U.S. Forest Service permit up there, and so we're under their permit. So we partner with them as well. So we do work to raise funds from our members and the public, and this was our campaign in 2020 and 2021, and it was pretty successful. So the next slide shows some of the persons served through this program. Now this is based on a trail counter that is up at Tri-City, and now so it counts everyone, so including the Nordic skiers, fat bikers, anybody who accesses the trails through that one access point. And it also, this is from 2019 to February 1st of 2022. And let's see, I'm going to try to pull up a number here. And I had my notes, but they're not showing up on here for some reason. In 2021, we averaged, I'm sorry. In my grant request, I spell it out a little bit better. So we might want to go back to this for questions. So let's move on to the next slide. And so this shows that the Visit Laramie, highlights our trails that we help maintain. We definitely think that we attract fat bikers to the Laramie area and Happy Jack based on our awesome trail system up there. And so the next slide shows that we do Groom Reports. So everybody, anybody can access our website and social media outlets, and we will post, when we groom, what we groomed, so people can always get the latest grooming reports. And the last slide shows just that we thank you for your support from 2021, and we hope that you will consider donating to this great program again. Does anybody have any questions?
Questions? Councilmember Schuster.
Thank you again. You are the ones that are going to be building the trails on the state section at the bottom of Pilot Hill. Is that correct?
So we built the trails on the schoolyard, yes, which was a state section. We built those trails over the last, 5, 6, 7 years, but the Pilot Hill program has now taken over the management of them. But we will continue to help with the maintenance and building the trails and maintaining them.
Thank you very much. I also know a couple of years ago when we had Freedom Has a Birthday at Washington Park, you did a really great thing where you checked in our bicycles so that we just checked them in. You took care of them so that there was no vandalism, no theft, no nothing while people enjoyed the Freedom Has a Birthday at Washington Park. So I wanted to thank you for that too, because I think your group just does a phenomenal thing for the community.
Great, thank you. And we hope to, we most likely will do that again this year. So great. Glad we could do that for you. Thanks.
Thank you.
Other questions? Well, we appreciate your time, and thanks for that presentation and for the information. And we wish you guys the best of luck with your projects moving forward. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Good night.
Good night. All right. Next up, Pilot Hill Community Partners. We have Sarah Braun Matthews. Thanks for being here. It's over to you.
Good evening, councilors and city council members. Can you hear me? I apologize. I have a little bit of a cold this evening, so hopefully You'll be able to hear me clearly as I speak. My name is Sarah Brown Matthews. I'm the Executive Director for the Pilot Hill Recreation and Wildlife Habitat Management Area on the east edge of Laramie. You can switch to the next slide, please. I think you're all pretty familiar with the history of the Pilot Hill project. This was a landmark partnership that continues to this day, a collaboration between Albany County, the City of Laramie, the University, the state, and the historic Warren Livestock Ranch to conserve 11 square miles of the Pilot Hill property, extending from the east edge of our community all the way up to the Medicine Bow National Forest. A key component of this property is that it overlies a critical portion of our aquifer recharge area. It also provides critical wildlife habitat for our resident elk, moose, mule deer, and pronghorn herds. And it provides a little bit of elbow room, quite honestly, for all of us in Laramie, both from the Colorado border and from Cheyenne, with open space that provides each of us the opportunity to have a healthier and better mental health lifestyle here in Laramie. The property is now under lease from the state with the Albany County Commission and from the university with Pilot Hill Inc., serving as the umbrella organization that manages the property. You can switch to the next slide. This project all along has been truly a labor of love by our community. And with that opportunity, we spent quite a bit of time during the years that we were securing the land to make sure that we understood the community vision for the property and that we're following those guidelines in our management practices. The community told us very clearly that they wanted us to balance protection of the aquifer, the wildlife habitat, and the recreational use, that there's a lot of excitement in town to be able to have extended hiking, trail running, biking, horseback riding trails, and all of the other opportunities that are afforded through open space, including wildlife viewing, educational opportunities, and places to go just to get a different perspective on life. And that the community was really concerned about protecting the opportunity for the locals to use the area, while we also attract non-local users to help enhance our economic situation here in Albany County. You can switch to the next slide. In 2021, the property was open to the community, and we've made quite a bit of progress in the last year, due in a large part to the support that we received from the city and the county and other private and public funders in the area. We don't receive any tax dollars, and we haven't come to the community for COVID relief funds, but we do hope to, in the future, continue to partner with the community and the state and possibly look at economic opportunities to boost our local economy, to diversify the businesses in the area, and potentially utilize some of the state funds and federal funds that are coming down through the ARPA program. But in this first year, we really focused on making sure that the property was safe for all of our users, as well as for the wildlife, by removing lots of barbed and mesh wire fencing. We replaced non-wildlife friendly fencing with fencing that is smooth wire or buck and rail, as you can see in the pictures. We removed a ton of trash, and we leveraged community partnerships, for instance, with the Wyoming Conservation Corps and other nonprofits and volunteers to achieve trail construction of the 7 new miles of trails that we built this year at about 50% of the average with the industry for trail construction. So we're really trying to leverage every dollar for the greatest impact possible. You can move to the next slide. We also had lots of things to celebrate this summer. Our newest Eagle Scout in the Laramie community chose the Pilot Hill project for his Eagle Scout project, building 2 wonderful kiosks for us. We hosted the Gem City Mountain Bike Racing Series in partnership with the City Rec Center. The Pilot Hill Classic, which has been going on for 35 years, was run on the property this year. Christy Smith, who spoke just before I did this evening, got to celebrate the 7220 speed goats on the property. Her son, 2 or 3 years ago, was frustrated that he couldn't ride his bike all the way from town to the forest and not trespass, and now he can, and has gone on to be quite a young competitor in the mountain bike arena. And we've had over 450 hours of time donated by just volunteers in the community that have come out to help us both celebrate the new trails, to do finish work on trail construction, and also to manage the property for safety and trash removal reasons. You can go on to the next slide. We also completed an economic impact analysis on Pilot Hill. We wanted to make sure that when we say to the community, and especially to our city council and commissioners, that this is going to have an economic impact on the community, that we have numbers to back that up. According to the Center for Business and Economic Analysis at the University of Wyoming, they anticipate in a pretty conservative estimate that during the construction process of Pilot Hill, we'll be adding about $1.2 million to the community annually. Our operations annually will add another $132,000 to the community. From non-local visitors, we can anticipate generating $5.8 million each year to boost our local economy. And in tax revenue, that equals $1.3 million that will come back to the city and county coffers, both in Laramie County, Albany County, and for our surrounding towns and communities. In addition, we anticipate that Pilot Hill is going to generate new local jobs and a broad range of new business opportunities. So we're really working upstream to try to address economic diversity by developing the Pilot Hill area. To the next slide. One more. There we go. Here's the map of where we are to date. As you know, the trail system was in the schoolyard section, was previously established before Pilot Hill took over that lease. This last summer, we were able to add 7 trail miles to that system. So in total, we have over 30 miles of trails and 2 routes from town, from the base of the property to the peak of the property and adjoining the Medicine Bow National Forest. You can go on. With the funding that we are asking for from the city and county through this grant proposal, we plan to extend our work on the property this summer in this phase 1 process. We anticipate building at least another 7 miles of trails that will allow people greater access and flexibility in utilizing the property. And we also hope to really start to address a primary need, which is to locate an entrance location for the park in town where we can bring visitors in from out of state to not only utilize the Pilot Hill system, but then to go downtown and spend a few dollars in our restaurants, our stores, and in our hotels. Next slide, please. This phase 1 of the process will take at least 3 to 5 years to complete. And as I mentioned before, it does include establishing the main entrance. Truly, we're building a park in Laramie for the community's benefit. All in all, the trail construction of phase 1 will range somewhere between $500,000 to $1.5 million. And the main entrance is estimated at about $1.5 million to complete. On to the next slide. This last slide, I just want to confirm with you that we are managing the property proactively. We're working hard to make sure that the community's vision for the area is being met. And I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have related to the Pilot Hill Recreation and Wildlife Habitat Management Area.
Well, I see we have a question from Councilmember Schuster.
Thank you. Was on the committee in the beginning, loved it and everything. We had kind of a State of the Union from our president of the University of Wyoming. He said they probably would be providing some property at the base, and I'm guessing it was at the end of Willett on property they had received in a gift. And he said they thought they would be putting a parking lot down there. Is that where the parking lot's going to be at eventually?
Representative Schuster, thank you for that important question. We are in discussions with the University of Wyoming trustees to have the primary parking access off of Willett Drive. It would be on the north side of Willett Drive, kind of across from where the Align apartment complex is. And yes, that is university property. They're working with us on an agreement so that we can have additional management of that area, in addition to what they've already contributed, the $2.3 million in property that is part of our management area. So they've been extremely collaborative and generous in working with us to try to make sure that Pilot Hill can be successful and that we have a really clearly defined entrance area so that we can manage the property for the best and highest use for the community. We're looking at lots of parking for cars, for school buses, for horse trailers, and then also basic user amenities. We'll need to make sure that people have a restroom when they need it, and trash cans and appropriate signage and some shade for those hot summer Wyoming days.
Thank you. He had said that in his State of the Union, so I just wanted to kind of touch on that to make sure things are coming forward. Thank you very much.
They are, and the trustees will finalize our agreement at this upcoming meeting unless they, run into questions that we need to address further.
Other questions?
Mayor, I've got one.
Go right ahead.
Sarah, I was just curious about parking, and I had a question about the trails, which you covered very well. Thank you for that. About parking, anything on or off of Boulder Drive that you're looking at? Because it would be, I think, convenient for a lot of people in that area coming from Boulder to park. What are your plans there?
Councilor Gabriel, thank you for that question. I anticipate that that would be a secondary access site that we would look at in the future. I think this first one will likely be at the end of Willett Drive for a couple of reasons. Number one, the SSI that we have already completed on that area shows 130 feet of Satanka overlay in that area. So it's really positive in terms of helping to protect the aquifer. Off of Boulder Drive, the Satanka layer is quite a bit shallower, and we would need to create a drainage system for runoff that would be relatively expensive, would probably add about $1 million to our costs for the parking area. Secondly, because of the school and the businesses in that area, we're really trying to be respectful of what the city has expressed to us in terms of being concerned about that area being wide enough for school buses to turn around, making sure that we're really being thoughtful about any design off of Boulder Drive in the future that would facilitate both the businesses and the school district and their need to have good access to their properties as well. So I agree with you. It's an ideal location in a lot of ways, easily accessible from Grand and also the rec center and other areas. But there are some additional challenges to that area that would make that area quite a bit more expensive for us for our first entrance to the park.
Thank you very much.
Any other questions? All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you all.
Council and commissioners, our next community partner agency is the Laramie Railroad Depot Association.
Are you able to hear me?
Yes.
So my name is Joseph Cook. I'm the president of the Laramie Railroad Depot Association. For those of you who don't know, we're an entirely volunteer-run organization aiming to promote and preserve Laramie and Albany County railroad heritage. So the bulk of the depot is dedicated to a rental space with a museum on the north side of the building. And as part of our mission, we try and maintain low enough prices to make the rental space available to as wide an audience as possible. And the museum is open on Mondays by request, but also during public events. So in 2021, we were able to host our annual open house again and look forward to hosting it again in 2022, as well as other events such as the Christmas train lighting and the STEAM program's planned passage through Laramie. The big boy will likely be coming through late spring or early summer. Obviously, COVID mainly ended our rental revenue. However, thanks to generous donations and CARES Act funding, we were able to maintain financial stability. However, we were not able to assign any funds to large-scale building maintenance. Rentals have now picked back up, and we hope to be back on track with this internal revenue through the rentals to tackle the large-scale projects as they come in. But currently, we still have a backlog due to the couple of years where our income was no longer sufficient to get extra money for these projects. And one of the main issues is repainting the exterior woodwork on the building to make sure that it doesn't deteriorate due to our lovely climate in Laramie. So as discussed in the grant application, to help us with this aim to tackle this accrued backlog, a private donor has offered to match our 2022 Community Partner Grant application. And with that, I thank you for your consideration, and if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Thank you very much. Questions for Mr. Cook from the Depot Association? Doesn't look like we have any. We appreciate your time and your willingness to come and represent the association. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Have a good evening.
You too. Next up, we have Science Loves Art, the organization Science Loves Art.
Hello, let's see. I had to be a little artsy here. We're in the front of my studio at 4th Street Studios, and we have a science experiment in the front window. So hopefully you guys can all come by because we're right down the street, but we're doing some microbe growing in an artistic format. So can you see me okay, or is that backlight annoying? Okay. Well, I just want to say I have listened to every presentation, and I'm so happy to be in this community. Many of the nonprofits that have presented, we've already collaborated with, but some of them are just on our list. And it's amazing how art can just add something to a foster child's life or a homeless child's life or an after-school program. So we're really excited to continue on, and you guys are one of our first supporters. We're pretty new as far as nonprofits go. We're Laramie home base, we're small, but we're very passionate about Laramie and Albany County and getting art and science projects, in the community. Our mission is to provide art and science to the general public, but our real passion is the isolated, the rural, the at-risk communities. So collaborating with these other nonprofits is perfect for us because they've already reached these groups that we have a passion for. So we'll continue that this year. We've reached over 2,000 people through experiences in art this last year. That includes team building, after-school programs, families that feel disconnected, that want a way to connect through their computers, through different locations, and other nonprofits, as I mentioned. And we really feel that art is not a luxury. Art should be something that everyone experiences. There are more recent studies that, for mental health, self-esteem, confidence, that art and expression of art is so important to these children. Not only children, but senior citizens, and really everyone in our community. We have people coming in all the time that say they can't do art, they don't like science. So we're trying to just bridge that so that they feel like they have that connection through art, whether it's just having a better life. So that's something that's really important as far as our mission. So we've designed these kits. They're very practical because we can easily send them out. We can mail them. We have YouTube videos that demonstrate how to use them. And they're all designed without the knowledge of art or science. So it's easy, it's abstract, everybody's a winner. They produce something really beautiful. So that's been really great. But we've expanded now that COVID is over, just about, to more workshops, more in-studio participations, more family gatherings. We do more online hosting. If anyone makes a request, we'll definitely do that. And we are doing more of and continuing our business collaborations. So we do collaborations with businesses that help them as a small business bring in people on a slow night. So we bring in our kits and we do come make crafts with coffee or brew and craft. So we're trying to do that with our local downtown businesses and our Laramie businesses, which has been a really successful collaboration, and we're definitely going to keep improving on that. We will be having our pollinator week this year, and we have requested, through the help of the city of Laramie, we are in front of our studios here. I don't know if you guys know where we are, but we're right across the street from you, and it's just concrete and these buildings. So we have dug up the concrete pads. We're going to have a whole pollinator tree garden with gardens planted, and we're super excited. We're working with Rooted. They're going to put some trees in for us. But we are going to bring more of the community into our garden, into our greenhouse. We have a greenhouse out back that was the original Laramie floral greenhouse built in 1926. It's full of plants right now. We should be sharing that, and we want to share that with children and with community groups that want to learn more about gardening, about pollination, about composting, about all of these benefits. And we have it right here, and it's a historical part of Laramie. So this is one of our huge goals for this year. We could not do it without the city of Laramie so far. We have a beautification grant. We have the help of the arborist. So we're going to continue that. And all of you guys, I want you to come by and let me give you a tour. It's a big part of, I think, rejuvenating the history of Laramie on this property. So we don't want it to be that, we want to share that. So I know I need to close. I just want to say that we have a few part-time employees. We are using the workforce services. All of our employees are students that we're educating on how to, and we're mentoring them on how to run a nonprofit, how to be a business owner, how to do all this, and how to fundraise. So with this grant, we do need help with grant writing, some marketing, some website, and some programming. And we just appreciate you so much. We couldn't do it without you. And I just encourage you all, I would love for you to come by and see what you've helped us build. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Any questions? Well, thank you for visiting with us again and sharing about your program and your plans and some of the projects you have going on. We do like to hear about that. Thank you so much. And we like the background. It's very nice.
Okay. Well, thank you so much.
All right. Have a good evening.
You too.
Okay. Griffin Theater is the next community partner. For the Griffin Theater, is it Mr. Sjogren? All right.
There we go. Let me click the right buttons for you. Hi. Council members, commissioners, mayor. My name is Jason Sjogren. I'm a board member of the Laramie Plains Civic Center. And as you know, the Civic Center has been there since 1878 as a school and in the National Registry since 1981. It's a big building, takes up a whole block. We've got a staff of 5 who run the whole show. And we have new board members, 4 new board members in the last 6 months. So I know we were a joint board at one point, and now we're an independent operation with a nonprofit and a foundation. And we're here to ask your support today to join us in a partnership to help renovate a big part of the Griffin Theater, which is a big part of the Civic Center. The Griffin Theater has really been home to an amazing set of talents to come through either locally or regionally or nationally. And what we want to do is bring it into the 21st century without harming the historical value of it. And so we're asking for your support in conjunction with our work with the Wyoming Arts Council and the Wyoming Cultural Trust Fund and West Staff, which is the Western Arts Federation, and any support we can get from the National Endowment of the Arts to upgrade our sound system. And there's three main reasons to do that. One is safety. What we have now has worked, and we've been super careful in making sure no one gets hurt, but stacking up speakers on the stage really is not what the stage is for. We have to be able to move to what we would consider to be a more professional presentation, which is an array of speakers professionally mounted and engineered so that safety is maintained the whole way without hurting the Griffin's unique nature. I mean, first time I went to a show there was in 1982 to see Taj Mahal. And it has played a big role in continuing that kind of spirit. And so we're asking for your support to help us make this happen. It's going to be a capital campaign that we want to go out and get Friends of the Griffin to help support, and we want to get the state support, and we would love for the city and county support as well. And I'm glad to field any questions about this, right? As I said, safety, it helps our mission, and it's also going to be more cost effective than having to rent things to attract the bigger acts that we want to bring into Laramie and not get bypassed as they head down I-80. There's a lot of big acts that we can't get right now because our system is not up to standard. Questions?
Yeah. All right. Thanks for that explanation and the presentation. Do we have any questions for Mr. Sjogren about this? Councilmember Gabriel.
Thanks, Mayor. I just wanted to thank Jason and all of the many musicians in Laramie and Albany County for all of their great entertainment over the years. You have provided so much great music for so many people, and you're one of the main cogs in that. And hopefully we can really help out the Griffin Theater. But thank you on behalf of so many people that enjoy, live local music. It's just great to have you here.
Well, appreciate that very much. I'm clearly the gray beard of the group.
Other questions for Jay? All right. Well, we appreciate you making the time to be here and talk to us a little bit about that project, and we'll let you go. Thanks again.
Okay, glad to field any questions. Just let me know.
All right. If we don't get them
Thank
tonight,
you.
maybe somebody will email you. Thank you.
Okay.
All right. Council and commissioners. Brings us to our final community partner presentation from the Laramie Public Art Coalition.
Hi, everybody.
Laura McDermott, yes. The
Hi.
Director McDermott, thank you for being here. Go ahead.
Yeah, absolutely. Hello, everybody. I am Laura McDermott. I am the Executive Director of the Laramie Public Art Coalition. I've had the pleasure of working with several of you over my past 2 years of being director here. You can go to the next slide. So the Laramie Public Art Coalition exists to enhance the unique visual and cultural vibrancy of Laramie and Albany County. And we do that by administrating projects in the public realm, making sure to champion our local artists and really keep our community front and center. Tonight, I'm just gonna fly through a handful of projects that we have done over the past year. It's just a sliver of the work that we do, but they demonstrate, each one of them demonstrates a unique way that we partner with the community and that we can be an awesome partner to our region. So this first one is Sunset at the Oasis. It's by Meg Thompson-Stanton, who's a local artist here. And this is on the Ranger. It's on all four sides of the Ranger. has 4 celestial events, as well as each landscape in the direction that you're looking, which is really lovely. And the ranger actually reached out to us. They wanted us to help find an artist for their building. So we worked with the ranger to find an artist. We paid 3 artists to develop plans for the building. And then the ranger picked Meg, who completed the designs. Next slide. Here's Meg on the rooftop. And also Meg at the University of Wyoming doing some laser cuts for her mural. Next slide. And we also made sure to host a really awesome kickoff mural party once the mural was finished for Meg to honor the work, get the community to see it, and also just celebrate that the ranger was interested in investing in artwork, which is really amazing. So we want to make sure that we encourage our local businesses to have public artwork at their sites. Next slide. So this is inside the current Slade Elementary School, and I have been working with a retired art teacher, Kathy Keenan, on figuring out how we can commemorate this mural that was paid for by students in 2007. Slade is there's a new building happening for the elementary school, and so we've been working with the superintendent and some other members of the school district to think about ways that we can make sure that this mural lives on in either a new iteration or just having some kind of celebration for this, because it was so many students participated in creating this mural with an artist named Harvey Jackson. Next slide. So this is the new Slade gym, which was the former high school gym. So we're thinking about ways that we can have that mural, maybe a new version of this be in the building, or do something new with the students there. So just again, we offer our services when somebody reaches out and needs help and needs sort of creative thinking on how we can get projects done and make sure that our artwork in our community is honored and continued. Next slide. This is the Parklet by Kayla Clark. And so the Parklet was a project of the city of Laramie. Next slide. And we worked with Kayla, who was the designer for the Parklet, to gather community feedback, to interact with community members about the Parklet, so she could get images and resources to put on to the Parklet. So she made sort of these cutouts that adorn the Parklet. We helped her install the Parklet. Next slide. And there's the Parklet in action. And then we also use the Parklet as a home base to have artist meetups, to just make sure that it was utilized and appreciated as it was up. Next slide. The Albany County Courthouse. So these 2 artists are from Indianapolis. This is Luke Crawley and Quincy Owens, and they are designing a artwork for the inside of the new entrance of the courthouse. And one of the ways that we're working with the county and these artists is we're helping the artists finish their project, get everything they need from us here in Laramie and Albany County. And we also brought them to Laramie to visit. Next slide. And we made sure we took them on geology tours, we took them on water tours. Here we are with Paul Taylor, who is a water advocate for Albany County, leading the artists on a tour of our water systems, because their project is actually about water and geology. And so we made sure they got everything they could possibly need and want about information in the county so they can create a really beautiful project. Next slide. And this last project, I'm just going to really quickly highlight, is called Shared by artist Ashley Quick. Next slide. And this is with the Parks and Recreation Department. So Ashley was picked to create a work for the Recreation Center. And we worked with Ashley and the Rec Center to host a couple meetings with the community so she could gather some input for her work. Next slide. We also hosted free workshops with community members. Ashley is a block printer by trade, so we've hosted multiple free block printing workshops. Next slide. And then this is the resulting work. It's a almost 35-foot mural at the rec center that incorporates a lot of community feedback about how people like to recreate and in their community. Next slide. And that's it. So LPAC works in a lot of different ways. Again, this is just a sliver of what we do. And we always are just there for people when they need us to help create, like I said, a more vibrant and exciting place to live. Any questions?
No? Are there any questions? Are there any questions? I don't see any hands coming up, Laura.
Hey, Weaver, I've got a question.
Oh, okay, please.
Laura, thinking about the work in the front of the county commission in the new part of the courthouse, do you have a timeline for that? I can't remember the timeline.
Yes, it's supposed to be installed by the end of June.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah.
Good remember.
Anybody else? We're kind of getting we're getting really concise presentations and also slideshows and things like that from our community partners this time around, which is actually really helpful. And I think it might head some of those questions off at the past. So we really appreciate this time and the detail and the work that you put into the presentation. So if there isn't anything else, we'll say good night and thank you very, very much. All right, council members, commissioners, that gets us to the end of our list of presenters from community partners this evening. We have a couple of other items on our work session agenda, and we would invite county commissioners to stay for any other part of the meeting tonight that they like to, or perhaps return if there's something on the agenda later that they're interested in. But otherwise, this would be a good time for us to convene our joint meeting, or to close our joint meeting with you. Commissioners, do you have any party comments or anything you'd like to add?
Mayor Weaver, councilors, and staff, thanks so much for I'm just joining with you guys. It's always nice on this evening. I know it gets to be long, but to hear the depth and breadth of the social services network in this community, it's really inspiring. And so I do appreciate listening to the folks. And you're right, keeping 24 programs under 2.5 hours is pretty amazing. So I thank them for that too.
Yeah, they did a really good job, and I couldn't agree with those comments more. Any other comments from council members before we move on? All right. Well, we will move on to the next part of our work session. And again, county commissioners, anything you want to stick around for, please do, or come back for a later part of the meeting. I know we're going to be talking about the city council ward boundaries. There may be some interest there. I think the county clerk will be joining us. So that's up to you. And we thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mayor Weaver, and best of luck, and we'll be watching from home. I'm going to go get some dinner.
All right, and thank you for your assistance with that dinner situation before, Mr. Chairman. Greatly appreciated. All right, council members, we have council updates and comments right now, and so the floor is open for council updates or comments, keeping in mind that, of course, we do have other items for a special meeting tonight, so if you were inclined to waive those, nope, doesn't look like it. All right, Councilmember Schmeckel.
Thank you, Mayor. I'll be brief. I've been asked to pass along the message that the rally for Ukraine tomorrow on the university campus has been moved due to expected inclement weather. It will be in the College of Ag building, room 1030 at 3 o'clock for an hour.
Thank you, Councilmember Schmeckel. And can I just speak to a point real quick about some inquiries about permitting and things for any future events like that? We had an email, and it wasn't clear whether or not students and University of Wyoming folks were looking to see if they needed permitting for something out off of the campus. for an event or a rally. And my understanding is anything that's on campus is not, that all needs to be handled through those on-campus organization channels. And there really isn't a need to go through the city unless there was going to be a desire to have a rally or an event off. So if you could pass that along, and of course we're willing to help, and as we said before, with any off-campus events. But thank you for that update. And sorry to hear about the Wyoming March weather. It is what it is. Council Member Harrington.
Thanks, Mayor. No updates, but I did just want to chime in that I thought the video presentation as from one of the community partners, I thought that was a reasonable way to save some folks that are generally probably pretty overworked some of their evening time. So for what it's worth, I would be open to that being an option in the future if people wanted to take it. I don't know how the rest of council feels, and we don't need to get into it now, but just wanted to say my piece. Thanks.
You bet. Other comments? Councilmember Schuster.
Thank you. Just wanted to reiterate, the Historical Railroad Depot meeting is Thursday, but they did state that they have a person in town here that any funds that are given to them by us or the county will be matched. So one of the things I'd really like to state is please look at that, because that's usually not something somebody does for a group here in town. So I don't know if you've ever attended their Legoland or any of the other events. They said our big boy is going to come through this spring. That usually brings in hundreds of people from out of town. We've had to block off streets. We've had to set up extra seating. It's quite an event when they bring the big boy steam engine that weighs over 1 million pounds. There's a very nice display inside in the museum that talks about that steam locomotive, the largest in the world.
Thank you. Other comments or updates?
That's everything I have. All my other groups don't want to step on Mr. Smuckle, but yeah, the rifle range is tomorrow night. The second Saturday, which will be this Saturday, will be new member orientation. The third Saturday will be open range day, that the gates will be open. A person would pay a fee to shoot in it, but hate stepping on his toes. So thank you.
Well, and there's no meeting to report on until after it's held, right? So
Yeah.
No problem. All right. Any other council members? Vice Mayor.
Thank you, Mayor. Basically, I just want to say that you'll see on the agenda review process tonight, and 2 items coming forward from planning. So we will just save that for that discussion when we review the agenda.
Okay. Thank you. Anything else? Maybe we should get into agenda review if there aren't any other updates or comments. Let's do that. Council members, if you want to skim through that quickly, let's go in order of seeing if there's anything on consent agenda first. And I see the hand queued up, Vice Mayor. I'll call on you presently. I assume you're going to speak to the items that you just mentioned, so just make sure nobody has any questions about anything else first.
Actually,
okay.
Yeah, actually, no, I wasn't going to speak to those items, but under scheduled meetings for our ward meeting, we may need to delete that if you want to take it from here, but I noticed that was still on there, so.
Yes, thank you, Vice Mayor. And all I would just add to that is I believe the council is going to need that for a meeting. And we will not have the availability given what's coming up on our schedule for April and May, and what we still have to get done through this month. That 5th Tuesday council is most likely going to be needed for a meeting. And Vice Mayor, there were a couple of items, and we just had this meeting yesterday, and we spent some time with the city manager mapping this out. we can, of course, schedule some other meetings in between, but it seems like maybe if we stick to a Tuesday plan, that might be best. City Manager, did you have anything you wanted to add just by way of upcoming schedule issues? I think I'm correct in saying that we are looking at a heavy April and May already. And
Mayor, you're correct. Sorry.
Oh, yeah, no, that's just...
But
please.
Councilors, as you know, our meeting schedule tends to get fairly intense just seasonally in beginning March and then through April and May as we work through the budget and a lot of other issues. So as the Mayor and Vice Mayor had said, there was contemplation that the 5th Tuesday in March might be useful as a work session to address some lingering issues.
If you'll look at the upcoming meeting schedule that we had from before, you can get an idea of what we might need to place there. Vice Mayor, what was the item that we were going to prioritize for a 5th Tuesday? I think we had a couple of candidates. And I'm looking for the...
Asking me to remember something that occurred yesterday?
I'm looking for it also. You're not alone.
Yeah. I think...
I will say thank you for the clarity. I heard her say it'd be a work session and not a meeting, so.
Work session.
Information based, so thank you for clarifying that.
And I'm trying to see where it was in the list of upcoming. And I wasn't
Mayor, would
prepared.
you like me to help?
Yes, of course I would, City Manager. I wasn't prepared to have this discussion, so I don't have it in front of me. I should have been, but
okay.
That doesn't mean anything.
Yeah, that's okay. We have not confirmed yet that we will have the appropriate speakers available to address this, but we'd like to try to bring in someone to talk to us about tax increment financing districts, particularly urban renewal authorities, to start laying some groundwork of knowledge with the council. And frankly, with the staff, we've been doing a lot of research for a couple of years now, but we're at the point where that is an adopted goal of the council, and there's a certain lengthy process we need to go through. So having that outside person come in would knock a work session off your work session list and start building our understanding of what that will entail.
Thank you, City Manager. And that's exactly it, because there is a timeliness factor with that discussion. The sooner we get underway with those things, the better. And we won't be able to do it in April and May. The April and May meeting dates are spoken for, and I have meetings already added into them. The work sessions around the budget, each component of the budget will be taking up our calendar for those 2 months. This was an important item identified in council goals and discussed at length somewhat already. We need to have that detailed discussion about it. So if we can get those speakers, the feeling is, council, that that would be the best use of our time. Now's the time to raise objections or voice agreement about that, though, so we can get working on that. All right. Thank you. And yes, you'll see a number of relatively routine items on the regular agenda, and then what may prove to be a more time-consuming discussion towards the end of the agenda, which is our continuing discussion around dimensional standards and zoning questions for item number 19. Also, keep in mind that there is always the possibility that we'll have an executive session added to the agenda by the time we get to next Tuesday.
I was kind of guessing that and going to make my little comment joke about, I know they're fibbing to us. There's going to be an executive session.
Yeah, we almost just sort of by nature have a placeholder there. And that's sounds like we're teasing the staff, but we're really not, because sometimes we're well aware that you are not planning on it until you know that it needs to happen, and then we do it. So that's just how it goes. Okay, any questions about this agenda? Kind of plug it into your time management calculator. And it should be a relatively standard meeting, but I do think there's an item or two that's going to generate discussion and comment on there. So we'll plan on that. Vice Mayor? Did you want to speak to anything else on the agenda that we might have covered in the agenda meeting? I don't know if I'm missing anything.
No, you're good.
Okay. I couldn't remember why we were trying to have a work session, but city manager helped me out. All right. Well, if we're good with agenda review, we can see if there's a public comment now. And we have public comment from Brett Glass. Mr. Glass into the meeting.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and members of council. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes. Well, I just wanted to make a comment on the agenda. I really hope that you will find a way to schedule ward meetings on the 5th Tuesday. I know you're very busy and you've got a packed agenda, but it's been very difficult to reach members of council, and lately, I realize that you're busy, but very often members of the public have told me, and I've experienced myself, that they leave messages, they don't get a response, they're unable to reach members of council by phone, and so these meetings are important. Council seems to be running open loop on many topics right now, and I think it really should be taking more public input. So I think it would be a worthwhile expense to pay you for another meeting and to still have the meetings on the 5th Tuesday. That's all I wanted to say. I really hope that you can do that.
Thank you, Mr. Glass. Thank you for sharing your point of view with the council. Do we have other public comment? Seeing none, we'll close the public comment period. And we will adjourn the work session if there isn't any objection from council members. Members, I think we need a 5-minute break. I know it's late, but we've been sitting since 5:30, so we're going to take a 5-minute break and recess, and we'll be back here at 8:24. So we've got our counsel for water issues, Corey Lewis, with us. Welcome. It's nice to see you. And we have a special meeting on the agenda tonight, council members. So I'm going to call this a special meeting of the Laramie City Council for March 8th, 2022 to order and ask the city clerk to do a roll call.
Cumby.
Here.
Gabriel.
Here.
Harrington.
Here.
O'Doherty.
Here.
Schmeckel.
Here.
Schuster.
Here.
Somerville.
Here.
Pierce.
Here.
Weaver.
Here. And
That's
city clerk.
9.
Go ahead.
Sorry, Mayor. That's 9 present and 0 absent.
Thank you very much. And I've gone slightly out of order, City Clerk. I would like you to read the notice of special meeting that I've just called to order.
Notice is hereby given that a special meeting of the Laramie City Council will be held Tuesday, March 8th, 2022 at 6:00 p.m. after the regularly scheduled work session via Zoom webinar ID 869-7305-633 or 3226, passcode 540212. For the following purpose. Number 1, contract for purchase and sale of real estate between Bath Land Company and City of Laramie. And number 2, original ordinance number 2042, amending Laramie Municipal Code, Chapter 2.04 to adjust ward boundaries to have nearly equal proportions after the 2020 census.
Thank you, City Clerk. And we've already had the roll call. All members are present. I don't know if we have a city staff member. Yes, we do. We have introduction background for this issue provided by City Manager Jordan.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. I'll note that we do have Corey Lewis, our water counsel, standing in tonight for Bob Southern, who of course is away from the office today. Corey assisted with the negotiation of the land purchase agreement. Also, my camera-shy colleagues, Malia Braun and Darren Parkin, are here, but I will provide an overview of this issue for you. So,
City Manager,
as you know,
the City Clerk is looking for recognition.
Yes.
Excuse me, City Manager and Mayor. I was just wondering if we could go ahead and bring the item on the floor by motion or title.
Very good. Do we have a council member? Councilmember Harrington. We're so eager to get things going that we take more time by having to go back. Councilmember Harrington.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I move to approve the contract for purchase of 4,600.74 acres between the Bath Land Company and the City of Laramie, including all associated BLM leases, buildings, improvements, fixtures, crops, timber, mineral rights, and water rights for $7,583,400.00, and authorize the mayor and clerk to sign and amend the FY 2022 budget.
Second.
There's a motion and a second by Councilmember Schmeckel. Thank you very much. The item's been introduced and it's on the floor. And City Manager Jordan, we apologize. Can you please go ahead with your background information?
Here we go. Yes, thank you, Mayor and Council, and thank you, Clerk, for keeping us on track and knowing this was moved to the floor. Since the 1940s, councilors, you know that the city's been acquiring what's called the Dallin Ditch surface water irrigation right. The intention of that is to have access to Laramie River water that ultimately can be converted at a future point in time to municipal use from the irrigation and agricultural use it has in place at the time. These previous efforts allow us to provide about 40% of the water that's consumed by our community in any given year from the Laramie River, and as you know, the remainder coming from groundwater in the Casper Aquifer. The 1868 Dallin water right is in fact the most senior and valuable water right on the Laramie River system here in the Laramie River Valley. And since it is attached, of course, to land per Wyoming water law, we have to acquire the land in order to obtain the water. In keeping with our historical precedent, we have had a rare opportunity this year to acquire an additional 10 cubic feet per second that will add to the 20 CFS that we obtained in 1981 with the Monolith Ranch purchase. That will really position our community to have a robust water portfolio. And as you know, water in the West is an incredibly valuable commodity, frankly, particularly for a growing city and for a growing county. So we're excited to talk to you tonight about the contract for purchase and sale of the Bath Land Company by the City of Laramie. I'd like to give you just a little more background, if I could take a few more minutes here. In total, there are 4,600 acres, as you know, from the motion as moved. We will have an inspection period through the end of May. We have already completed a Phase 1 environmental on the property and found it to be satisfactory. So through May 26th, we'd be finishing up inspections and preparing for a potential closing in June. If you'd like to talk more about water rights, particularly the legalities of it, or have questions there, Corey's here to answer those questions. And of course, Darren Parkin, our natural resource manager, is here as well. Financing questions, Malia is here to answer, although I think that is articulated well in the agreement. And the last thing I will mention is that this contract, as noted in Section 19, is cross-contingent, and we are really excited to be working for the first time, really ever, with the Conservation Fund. This is a cross-contingent contract wherein they would acquire a portion of the ranch ultimately, and the city having the remaining portion. Just to give you a little bit of background about the Conservation Fund, this is a national organization, the leading, I would say, conservation program in the state. They have worked in all 50 states. Here in Wyoming, they have 40 projects underway with extensive project work in Grand Teton and the Wind Rivers, Upper Green River Valley. Closest to us, Carbon County has 2 projects in Saratoga, and we've been pleased to work with Dan Schlager, who's the Wyoming State Director for the Conservation Fund, to bring forward this first ever project in Albany County. With that, we're ready to stand for questions if you have any.
Okay, Council. I see questions from Councilmember Harrington first.
Thank you, Mayor. My question is for COO Braun. I am just curious if, for the sake of informing the public, if we could walk through how we're handling the financing for this purchase.
Yes, Mayor and Councilor Harrington. Basically, this is going through a building authority, which we've already established. The building authority will be helping us purchase the land through bonding, and we will lease back the property, probably a 10-year deal. And also, we are using some enterprise fund money also for this purchase. The building authority, we have legal counsel, Rick Thompson. He's been helping us on this also, which he's been in several meetings and things like that also. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, it does. Thank you.
Okay.
Well, we've got Malia. Any other questions? Councilmember Schuster.
Excuse me, thank you. Mine's going to be for Darren Parkin. He has provided counselors with tours of the Monolith Ranch, so I'm just hoping, I'm going to guess probably June, if we ever dry out by then, that maybe he can provide a tour of the new section of property that we are acquiring.
Darren?
Honorable Mayor. Yes, Honorable Mayor and Council, good evening. You bet. We're all excited to get out there after that June 30 close. I think that would be excellent. We'll put something together. It'll be a celebration, I hope. So we'll definitely make that happen, Councilor Schuster.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
I'm very excited for the purchase too. I'll state that. I think they've done a phenomenal job, our team has, so thank you very much.
Councilmember Schuster is eager to get to the hands-on fun part of this, if in fact the council chooses to do this evening. Other questions? for our staff members who have made time to be here this evening. My question is for Ms. Lewis. I have a question for Ms. Lewis, and if you could just give us a thumbnail outline of the water rights situation that the city of Laramie will be looking at with this purchase.
Sure, I'm happy to. If everybody can hear me okay. I'm very excited about this purchase from a water rights standpoint. Darren's probably told you all this in the past, but just to give you a quick rundown, there were originally, I want to say, 3,400 acres under the Dowland ditch, and some of those were reduced. So at the certificate of appropriation showed that there was 3,374 acres. Of course, the city acquired the Monolith Ranch, which was 1,510 acres, and now this Bathland purchase would be another 1,795.5 acres. So of the total acres that were under the ditch or are under the ditch, the city will now, if this purchase goes through, the city will own 98% of that water right. There's only 68.5 acres left. Of those 68.5 acres, 30 acres are owned by the Brownings. Darren made this shared this very neat map, but it shows that this is essentially everything the city's acquiring under the Dowland right, and there's just a small little outcroppings of what's left that we're not purchasing. One nice thing about what transpired in the negotiation with the Baths is that the Brownings are going to execute a provisional consent promising to not contest any future petition to the Board of Control by the city to amend the water right. So that would be, if Darren thinks it's appropriate to change how the acres are organized on the ground, change the place of use, all of those things, and then eventually to change the use to municipal.
Thank you very much. Do we have any follow-up? Ms. Lewis. That does seem a remarkable agreement that we have been able to enter into as the city of Laramie that deserves some acknowledgement. That's very good news. This is an incredible opportunity, and I'd hate to see the Zoom burnout from the long meeting before stifle the much needed discussion that this item demands, council members. So wake up, pep up. I'm going to go to Councilmember Gabriel because I think I saw his hand first, Councilmember O'Doherty. I apologize, and then I'll go to Councilmember O'Doherty. Councilmember.
Mayor, I just had a comment. So if you don't mind, I remember back in 1981 when City Attorney Tom Smith encouraged the city to buy the Monolith Ranch for future water. And I think this is another step in that process that the council is looking at serving future generations with this purchase if it should be approved by council. I think it's a very important step in the development of water for the city, and something that we've been talking about for quite some time, and it's just, in my opinion, great to see this come before the council tonight.
Absolutely. Councilmember O'Doherty.
Yeah, I have a question and several comments, but I thought we were just doing questions now. I was wondering, how does that diversion structure that, this is a question for Mr. Parkin, the fish-friendly diversion structure that's going to be designed, is the water that's controlled by that diversion structure part of this Bath purchase, or is that a different property that's a part of? Thank you.
Yeah, Honorable Mayor, through you, Councilor O'Doherty, the Bath irrigated lands share the same diversion as the Monolith Ranch do. So that diversion fish-friendly structure that is tied to the current water omnibus bill in the legislature, it'll start design shortly and will be constructed in calendar year 2024. And it will cover both these lands that would potentially be acquired and the existing lands that we have. So it's all comes from that singular point of diversion. So yeah, that's kind of good.
Councilmember Harrington.
Mr. Mayor, since I've already asked a question, I'm happy to wait for a second round if you would like to go to Councilor Schmeckel first.
Thank you very much. And Councilmember Schmeckel.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you, Councilmember Harrington. My question is related to the grazing operations in the Monolith Ranch, and how are we anticipating this purchase to either augment or affect those?
Councilor Schmeckel, this acquisition will not impact the grazing operation on the Monolith Ranch at all. It will be fairly separate. This is more irrigated lands and water rights focused than the Monolith Ranch, where we have a lot more of a grazing opportunity. But it's not going to be a hindrance. In fact, there may be a way for us to marry the two together. Those are discussions that were ongoing that we're talking about now, how we're going to integrate or keep them separate, or how we're going to manage both properties. But there's not going to be any hindrance to our existing grazing lessee on the Monolith. They're not going to have their operation impacted at all.
Follow up, Councilmember Schmeckel.
Nope, thank you. That covers what I was looking for.
All right. Haven't seen any other hands up, so I'm going to go back to Councilmember Harrington.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. Another question, maybe just even a follow-up to my first question to Malia. I was curious if you could talk a little more about how we intend to, you mentioned the enterprise funds as a portion of the funding, but I was curious if you could go into a little more detail about how we intend to try to offset to the greatest extent possible any increase in the enterprise fund following this purchase.
I think this was in our financial plan. We were looking at that. I don't think we've set the rates. The bond monies were, have a debt component, a lease component to it. So most of the money is coming out of our enterprise funds. We also are going for more ARPA money. We looked at, when we're looking at this stuff, what could we defer or go get extra money for ARPA or things like that. So it's offsetting some of the cost of this project, this purchase. So I think that we have a very sound financial plan. The rates we took are the rates that we're not going to see rates based on this purchase.
Mr. Mayor, if I could just follow up really quick. Malia, I think that's great. And I wasn't trying to pin you down. I certainly, I just thought it was worth walking through for members of the public. I do think that the fortunate timing of all of this corresponding with ARPA, was worth a conversation. So thanks for going a little deeper on that one.
That's good. That's fine.
It's an important question. Appreciate the answers. Anybody else for the first time? Councilmember O'Doherty.
I just wanted you to know that we're not taking this lightly. This is a lot of money, and I'm cheap, so it's painful. But the parting words from Senator Enzi to the Wyoming Association of Municipalities 2 years ago was that one of his greatest, or the things he's most proud of, was protecting water rights for the city of Gillette, and he encouraged municipalities to try to protect our water. And so I think it's in line with that. And I'm also really grateful that we're partnering with the Conservation Fund. They have a really good reputation in my world of ecology. So I think this is a win-win. Thank you.
Comments? Questions or comments? This is not a small occurrence. I appreciate that Councilmember Gabriel brought up the purchase of the Monolith Ranch. I think he gave the year as 1981. And I don't think a lot of municipalities anywhere in the United States or in Wyoming find themselves in a position to be able to exercise this kind of decision that is probably one of the best, if not the very best investment that could be made for long-term planning for future growth for municipality. If you look around the West, you see how water drives development, impacts development, raises concerns about all aspects of development. So the opportunity for the city to be able to do that type of long-range planning through this purchase is rare. And it's so rare that, in my view, to not decide to go forward with this purchase would be a severe error in judgment. That's just the comment that I'd like to make. Councilmember Harrington, I see you have another comment. I'm going to recognize you.
Thank you, Mayor. Much to the same point, I just wanted to sort of acknowledge the significance of this and thank the city staff and our council, Corey Lewis, for all the assistance in getting this incredibly complex acquisition done for the city. I think this will be something I will be proud of for my time on council, and I just wanted to thank all of the members of staff that really made it possible. Thanks, Mayor.
You bet, Councilmember Harrington. I agree. Councilmember Schmeckel, you had a hand up.
Thank you, Mayor. I was going to make the same point that Councilmember Harrington did, so I don't feel the need to add on.
Thank you. Thank you, sir. A reserved council during this discussion, but that's all right. Any other? City Manager Jordan.
Mayor, if there are no other comments from council, I just thought I would close up. I did neglect to mention one thing in the introduction, and that is we're really excited, pending the outcome of the vote tonight, to reach out to our Monolith Ranch Committee immediately and apprise them of the potential here. So we have also a bunch of other partner agencies that Darren and I spoke about today that we'll be reaching out to start engaging with some of those partners. One sort of smaller known fact about this ranch is it does have overland trail access across it. So SHPO's on our list, Wyoming Game and Fish, a whole bunch of potential partners. And then, of course, our local Monolith Ranch Committee. So Darren and I will be doing some due diligence with those folks in coming weeks to bring them up to speed, depending on your vote. And I just wanted to put that out there in case they're listening and feel like they got skipped over. They have not. We'll be in touch probably first thing in the morning, actually, depending on your vote. So thank you. And I also like to thank my team. I appreciate the recognition of council. This has been a very heavy lift involving a lot of members of staff. And we're excited to be able to take advantage of kind of a historic opportunity for the residents.
Thank you, City Manager. Let's see if there's public comment. Seeing none, we'll close public comment period. Council, not to belabor the point, this is a generational opportunity. It's going to go on a long time after any sitting member of this council has anything to do with the city of Laramie. City Clerk, can we have a roll call vote?
Humby.
Yes.
Gabriel.
Yes.
Harrington.
Yes.
O'Doherty.
Yes.
Schmeckel.
Yes.
Schuster.
Yes.
Somerville.
Yes.
Pierce.
Yes.
Weaver.
Yes.
That's 9 yeses and 0 noes, Your Honor.
The motion carries. Council members, we have another item for a special meeting tonight, but let us quickly say thanks to staff members and Ms. Lewis, our Water Council, for being here with us and helping answer some questions and give an outline for that topic. We thank you very much.
Thanks for letting me be a part of history. Good night.
Good night.
Yeah.
Good night. Councilmember Gabriel, I see you're looking for speaking opportunity. You got it.
Yes, thanks, Mayor. Could I request that all audio sound as good as Malia's? Thank you.
Are you having trouble hearing other people?
No, she had the best audio I've heard on any Zoom call.
Oh, okay. Maybe she's got a good setup. All right.
The counselor's a pro too, Mr. Mayor. We got to take this seriously.
Yeah. Okay, council members. On to the next big item for our special meeting this evening, and I'm looking for an introduction from a council member for this item.
I think Erin ought to do it, as much work as she's done on it.
Well, I think you're probably right. Councilmember O'Doherty.
I move to approve original ordinance number 2042 on first reading and introduction, amending Laramie Municipal Code, Chapter 2.04 to adjust ward boundaries to have nearly equal proportions after the 2020 census.
Second.
The motion is second from Vice Mayor Pierce. I will now go to the city clerk for just a little bit of background.
Thank you, Mayor. Just to provide a little bit of background for the council and any public that are on the call today. The council have met a couple of times for work sessions on the ward boundaries. As you all know, it's been an interesting year legislatively with redistricting. So we have encouraged the council to go ahead and move forward with our process to try to meet deadlines. We work closely in this process with our Albany County clerk, Jackie Gonzalez, and her elections team to try to make sure that they're well informed and they've been communicating just as well, if not better, on redistricting back with us. So they have been a fantastic asset, and I just want to thank them for joining us at the late hour again tonight. So on December 28th, the council met in a work session and discussed ward boundary maps and what options might be out there that would work. Out of the December 28th discussion, there was a map 2.1 that came forward as a suggestion that consolidates some of the precincts for voting polling places and just kind of works well on both sides of the spectrum. That was recommended by city staff and by the Albany County elections team. The reasons that I received for recommendation from staff is that the growth area in 2.1 was divided in appearance fairly equally amongst the different ward boundaries in that map. So that's part of why that was recommended by staff and the Albany County clerk. With that, Mayor, if you or the council have any questions, I'd be happy to answer, or our Albany County clerk did join us in case we had any questions for her.
Thank you, City Clerk. Any questions for the City Clerk on the background, or for the County Clerk or County election staff people? And thank you for bearing with us and being here with us again on a late night. We do appreciate it, and we're grateful to you for doing it. I'm going to go to the motion maker, Councilmember O'Doherty, to give us some more information and a little bit of a walkthrough on some of these map drafts. Does that sound on par with what you had in mind, Councilmember O'Doherty?
I'm willing to do that. It's kind of late, but I thought that you might want to admit jury Zach, I don't know how to pronounce Jerry's name, but he works for the county, and he is also a polygon of virtue.
Oh, yeah.
He makes sense.
And he's in the meeting with us now.
Okay. I think because of the late hour that we should go with the first suggestion and maybe consider the other maps as possible amendments, but if you want me to show you what we have in mind, or what counselors have expressed to me they have in mind. But first, I think I should say that at the conference committee today, Senator Landon said that they wanted to try to make the 6231 plan work, and that they were handing things to county clerks to help clean things up. And if Clerk Gonzalez wants to expound on that, if she has any other information, that they made suggestions that because the plans create some problems with those slivers I've talked about. Did you want to let Clerk Gonzalez talk, Paul?
Yes, the county clerk has an opportunity anytime. I'm waiting for the map attachment to load. I don't, county clerk, you're certainly not meant to be on the spot here, but if you have other information that you want to provide for the discussion, please do.
Thank you, Mayor and members of the City Council. We have worked very closely and appreciate the fact that we had the opportunity to review the information that Councilwoman O'Doherty had provided for us. I am going to basically allow Jory to speak at this time. He has done an incredible amount of work and review on the proposals that were submitted. Jory, would you like to offer any comment?
Yeah, thanks, Jackie, and thank you, Mayor Weaver and members of the council. Yeah, we just still want to go with 2.1. We just feel like it keeps the populations really close. It kind of addresses the dorm situation. They're in the same ward boundary, and it creates 9 precincts, which would be 9 voting ballots styles. The other 2 that were brought forward, I believe 1B would create 12 voting ballot styles, and proposal 3 would create 11 ballot styles. So kind of our focus was just to reduce the amount of voting ballot styles, with keeping in mind some of the other issues like the population and the dorm situation. So with that, I think 2.1 accomplishes that. The other 2 maps are good, but again, we just kind of feel 2.1 with discussions with our team is the best option.
Councilor O'Doherty.
If I can share my screen, I can just show people the other maps if you want. I have it in a, okay, I have a little PowerPoint that might make it bigger if you let me share.
Mr. Mayor, can I ask a question while that's loading?
Yes.
Thank you. Jory, is that 12 ballots for, I think you said it was for 1B as the proposed map? Is that with these sort of like the proposed House districts or the existing House districts, or, because those precincts they'll be redrawn as well, right? Based on the House redistricting? Is that correct?
Yeah, they're based off the House districts with the 6231 plan that they kind of want to move forward with today. They've been kind of flopping back and forth to the 6030 plan. But yeah, the 6231 plan would basically keep the House districts the way Senator Rothfuss had proposed to begin with.
Great.
With that 2.1, the 6 precincts would be in the city, and then we went forward with 3 in the county. 1 would include House District 46, and 2 would be included with House District 14, with that split being at the fire district line up north.
Great, thank you.
Yes.
Other questions? Councilmember Somerville.
Thank you, Mayor. I guess not quite so much of a question. I guess maybe a question for the council. I certainly have strong feelings on these maps as I expressed last week, and want to take enough time to go through some alternatives. Given the late hour and the complexity of the subject, I'm wondering if the council would be okay bringing forward substitute maps for second reading. I guess I want to let the council know that I'm perfectly fine with that. I think that this deserves maybe discussion at an earlier hour in the evening.
Thank you, Councilmember Somerville. Councilmember Schmeckel.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm curious, you mentioned the ballot styles. Is there any legal requirement to minimize the ballot styles?
That sounds like a question for the county clerk.
Mayor Weaver, thank you for the question. Councilor Schmeckel, the cost is the factor that we are looking at with the multiple, the number of ballot styles certainly increased the cost of the election. And so that is one factor that we are looking at.
May I have a follow-on?
Yes.
Do we have an inkling as to what those costs might be?
At this point, I do not. Primarily, I have worked with my printer to basically be put up in the queue to be able to print the ballots for Albany County for this election cycle. At this point, I do not have a cost to share with you. I certainly am happy to provide you with that information once that information is available.
Please.
Other questions? City Clerk, I have a question for you. I'm going to go to Councilmember Gabriel.
Thanks, Mayor. Just curious, I might have missed this, but I'm wondering on the 2.1 with the 9 precincts, if the legislature goes with 60-30 or the other alternative, will that have any impact on 2.1? I guess for Jackie.
Might be better. I don't think it did, but Councilor Gabriel, I'm going to direct that question to Jory as he has the maps in front of him. You know, we have worked very diligently with the redistricting plan going from 60-30 to 62-31, and to be real honest with you, to give you the exact or correct information would be a guess on my part after today's dealings with the committee and providing them with additional data. And so, Jory, do you mind answering that question, please?
Sure, thanks, Jackie. With the 60-30 plan, as you see on the screen, they did create an island within the municipal boundary. We did submit changes to get House District 13 to absorb those green census blocks within the municipal boundary to rid that island, because there's only 68 voters. That would have to create a precinct there. So yeah, that was one of the things we did, was we proposed some changes to that 60-30 plan to kind of to fix that area. But other than that, 45 would stay the same, and I believe the amount of voting ballot styles and precincts with 2.1 would be the same.
Great, I appreciate that. I know that it's kind of confusing going back and forth, because one week you hear that they're going to go with 62-31, now it's 60, whatever, and 60-30, but I think by the end of the week, hopefully we'll know what is happening. Thanks, Jackie and Jory.
Vice Mayor Pierce, and then I'll go to Councilmember Schuster.
Yeah, thanks, Mayor. I don't mean to offend because I know this is extremely hard work, having spent a couple hours with Councilor O'Doherty working on both Proposal 1B and Proposal 3. Like I said, I know it's a lot of work and time. I think I'd like to point out a few things, and the first thing that we really have no sure way of knowing what our legislature is going to do in terms of how they decide to carve up Albany County, if they do or if they don't. It's only a guess that they will stick with the plan presented or close to the plan presented. And I think as a council, we need to do what makes sense in terms of our community and communities of interest and kind of fair and equal representation. Proposal 1B and Proposal 3 also have an equal distribution of population. They also took in account potential economic development and growth in our housing areas. And we took into account the dorms and the potential growth of biotech, and we tried to look down the road as best we could. So from my standpoint, and like I said, I apologize up front, but I will not be able to support Proposal 2-1. I can't even wrap my head around that proposal at all, and I am very much in favor of Proposal 1B, and I think Proposal 3 is also okay, but I am much fonder of Proposal 1B, but I'd be fine with 3. So that's kind of where I'm sitting. Like I said, having spent a lot of time looking at the populations, and I just want to throw that out there. I realized Councilor Somerville, didn't want to go forward with making amendments by substitution, and we can do that on second reading, but I thought it would be fair to let Council know my feelings so we could maybe narrow down some of our choices before we move into amendments. And like I said, I apologize. I know this is hard work, but I'm strongly in favor of 1B, and there's really not much I like about 2.1 or 2-1. Thank you.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. And I'll just say it's probably a better use of time to be up front now for all of us as we move forward in the process. I had Councilmember Schuster next, and then I'll go to Councilmember Gumby.
Thank you. And just like our Vice Mayor, Councilor Pierce said, the growth pattern of the city right now is really different. Because yes, we are planning on building dorms across the street from our existing dorms. They won't be the size, the magnitude of the dorms at 15th and Willett, but is what I see is in current Ward 1, there's been a couple of places plotted, and they're going to have some growth towards their, I'm going to say, north side. In my Ward 3, we show some growth back behind the golf course, and that's been plotted, and they're waiting for our sewer to get really good straightened out, and then I think that's going to take off like wildfire. And then there's a lot of empty areas to the basically south of Laramie that's also in my ward that kind of looks like it might become somebody else's ward. That section behind Walmart still has a lot of infill possibilities, and the prediction of 30th Street going all the way to our Bill Nye will open up a huge amount of neighborhoods again too. So the growth areas in Laramie are in different areas, but except there's a huge amount of growth area in Ward 3 right now, and that's going to have to change. Part of that's going to have to be cut off and given to somebody else. So seeing all these three proposals, I don't know which one I support right now, and I hope the legislature listens to us a little bit, but I don't know how much they're going to listen to us. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Schuster. I share your hopes, but I have no optimism about it. Councilmember Cumby.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And I would like to acknowledge the huge amount of work that has gone into this. And I also want to acknowledge Councilor O'Doherty for the time she spent in developing these maps and on the phone with people explaining things and helping us to see and understand the maps and how they work. Bottom line, I think that proposal 2.1 or 2-1 to me is problematic. I don't think that it reflects kind of the city, the kind of the nature of the city. I think that it fractures Ward 2, which is somewhat of a community of interest in that we are in the central part of the city. And on the south side of Grand, I've heard from a number of constituents, and there's concern about protecting the residential quality of our neighborhoods. And that goes from really 4th Street all the way to 22nd. So I prefer the 1B, and I think that 1B captures the character of the city in these 3 different wards. I think that it becomes more inclusive to the west side. I just think there are a lot of advantages, and as a person who lives south of Grand in the residential area between 4th and 22nd, I think it provides us a voice in protecting the quality of the neighborhood and the historic character that ranges between 100 years ago and, you know, the 20s, 30s, 40s, and 50s. And I just hate to see that split up. So the one I propose the most is 1B. The second one that I could consider would be 3. And I think I would have to vote against 2-1. And that's it. I just wanted to get my concerns out there. So I thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Councilmember Cumby. Yeah, I don't think there's much point in going along with the map that ultimately isn't going to receive any support, the adequate amount of support. So it's a good meeting as any to share your views on it. Councilmember Somerville.
Thank you, Mayor. Well, I guess I'll just lay some of my thoughts out there. Certainly my preference is map 1B. Second would be proposal number 3. I cannot support 2-1 for a multitude of reasons. I really want to stress, I think it's important that we do what's right for the city and be as, forward-looking as we can for the next 10 years. There's a lot of other factors. We certainly want to work in collaboration with the county clerk's office. We've always run those municipal elections with the county elections instead of running our own. I think that's certainly something we should continue. And certainly we don't know what the legislature will do. I swear it changes hour by hour in Cheyenne right now. 1B is certainly my map of choice. And I think the biggest I guess I'll just stay you heard my comments last night or last week. We have one council member of 9 that live west of the railroad tracks in Laramie. That in itself is concerning. If I look back at history, and I stand to be corrected, but since the city switched to this 3-ward system, I believe we've only had 3 council members that lived in West Laramie and 1 from the West Side neighborhood. And we seem to have created this imaginary divide by the railroad tracks that really isolates the west side of town. And so I really believe that 1B tries to bridge that gap and recognize those communities of interest that cross the tracks and bring those together. So that's probably my biggest reason. My second would be I really feel like in terms of looking at future growth, 1B stands the best chance of trying to keep some balance between the wards 10 years from now. Councilor Doherty has done an amazing job with this map, and I do hope that we can make this one work. Mayor, I guess I would pause there, and if there's anybody else that wants to speak, otherwise I'll make a motion for an amendment when we're ready.
All right, thank you for waiting on that for just a moment. Other comments? I have a question that I'm holding on to, but other comments or questions right now from council members? My question is for the city clerk. The city clerk, do we budget a portion to help pay for the cost of the elections with the county for the service of running the municipal elections for the city of Laramie?
Thank you, Mayor. Yes, we do. Currently, we have about $25,000 budgeted. Granted, we don't know the final cost until the election's complete, but that's kind of the general ballpark we started with.
Thank you.
Given that we have, yeah, you're welcome, Mayor. I was just going to say, given that this is fifth penny tax season as well as municipal election season.
Right. Council, I would say this: we're in our own budget year. Should we adopt a map that might be more costly in terms of ballot printing? That may require an amendment to make sure that we're covering our fair share of ballot costs, and that's certainly something that is available to us as a choice. I'm not sure where we're at here. I'm Councilmember Schuster. I think I'm going to go to Councilmember O'Doherty because I think you went more frequently than she did, and I appreciate it. Councilmember O'Doherty.
I just wanted the number of precincts is important because I think the clerk has to have a set of poll workers at each of those precincts. I came out with a different number, but I guess it's because the county clerk was counting the outside of the unincorporated area of Albany County in addition to the city, right? Is that where those numbers came from for the number of precincts? Because I thought the Proposition 1 is 6 precincts within this. I mean, Proposition 2.1 would be 6 districts within the city. I want to point out that these red lines are the lines that haven't changed in all of this discussion with the legislature. These lines have been the same. The only thing that changed was the weirdness created down here with the 60 that would get corrected. But these lines have remained the same, and I'm sympathetic with the clerk's office because I'm a map maker, and to me this is the simplest map for having fewer precincts. But I agree that that splitting these two areas as opposed to the west side, it's because of the legislature, right? It's not that we're saying that these neighborhoods are more similar to each other than these neighborhoods. And so, so at first I just wanted to go with the clerk's plan because it's a lot of work. They would need 6 precincts, I think, within the city here. And with this one, so every time you have within a red area 2 different ward colors. Like this would be, I think, 2 precincts here, and we'd need 2 precincts here, plus I'm not talking about the county, 3 precincts here. I don't know what the clerk's office does about these discontinuous things here. So this creates more work for them, and we have to make sure they have poll workers if we come up with these other plans. So I'll stop there.
Thank you, Councilmember O'Doherty. Councilmember Schuster.
Thank you very much. I know in previous meetings, we have asked that amendments come in second meeting. I know that we get to decide on our own when they do come in. So, and then the other thing is, we lost our largest printing company here in town. And printing things might be a little more difficult. We just received our first batch since modern printing closed down, and it was a nightmare. So many mistakes. So I wish Jackie, our county clerk, the best of luck. And hopefully whoever she goes with provides us great service, because we have had so many mistakes on our first attempt on having someone out of town print now since modern printing closed. So good luck to you. Thank you.
Thank you. Other discussion or questions? I'll say this, I appreciate the point about amendments perhaps being held till second reading, just for practicality's sake. But of course, any individual council member can make a motion to amend it at any time. But we might, if we know they're coming and we know what we're working with, hold off. But I don't really have a strong feeling about it. Councilmember Somerville.
Thank you, Mayor. As I stated first, I'm happy to wait till second reading to bring that. I was offering to make an amendment because I kind of sensed the tone was maybe we wanted to go ahead and just make the change on the first reading and walk that through, but I'm happy to wait until second reading to make that amendment.
Well, I appreciate that, and I'm it's always up to the individual council member, but Councilmember Schuster did raise that point, and I don't think he's wrong to raise it. Any other discussion about this? Any other strong feelings about changes or decisions that need to be made this evening? All right. And I think I heard Councilmember Somerville communicate that she'd be happy to wait for motions to amend until the next meeting. Public comment. Public comment period. Any public comment on this topic? Closing public comment. Council? Last chance. All right. Council members, if we're to vote to keep this moving forward and open for amendment at a second reading, you'll need to vote yes, just to be clear. City Clerk, roll call.
Cumby. I'm sorry, Cumby?
Yes.
Gabriel.
Yes.
Harrington.
Yes.
O'Doherty.
Yes.
Schmeckel.
Yes.
Schuster.
Yes.
Somerville. Yes.
Pierce.
No.
Weaver.
Yes. For second reading.
That's 8 yeses and 1 no, Your Honor.
Thank you very much, City Clerk, and that motion carries. And this will be on our agenda in 2 weeks from, well, actually, since this is somewhat of an off meeting with the special meeting, City Clerk, help me. When will we next see this on our agenda?
Mayor, right now we have it placed on your March 15th meeting, which is next week. So
Okay.
we'll have second reading next week with a public hearing.
Okay, thank you very much, City Clerk. So we'll be coming forward on your agenda next week. Councilor O'Doherty?
I was just wondering if I guess whoever wants an amendment will ask for that map to be presented ahead of time so we can get it all on the agenda to the clerks. You can let me know.
Sure. If you want one of those maps that isn't the one that just passed on an 8-1 vote, council members, you'll need to get in contact with Councilmember O'Doherty and also communicate that to the city clerk and other interested folks before the second reading of the item. Councilmember Schuster.
I know it'd be a miracle, but it'd be great if something like this would be settled over in Cheyenne so they could give us something to work with, but that would be a miracle.
More unfounded optimism from Councilmember Schuster. Vice Mayor Pierce.
Yeah, given we have a public hearing also, wouldn't it be wise to put all three maps available for the public so we can get their input during a public hearing? I mean, it seems to me if we have anybody out there interested in the wards, it would be great to hear from them. So making the three maps available would be, I think, a good idea.
City Clerk, can you see any issue with including the three maps for the second reading that were included for tonight's first reading in the same packet for the item next week?
No, Mayor, I think we can make that happen.
Okay.
Thanks. That way, can help inform our decision making, and we can hear from some folks who are also, looking at this process and are interested instead of just us. So I think that'd be great.
Councilmember O'Doherty.
I just want to add that just like with the fifth penny, when we're creating things like this, we are going to have to put ourselves out there, and anybody not running for office is going to have to volunteer to be a poll worker. That's just my opinion. Thank you.
It's a good thing to do. If you haven't ever done any observation or poll work or stuff before, it's worth doing at least once. The county clerk's office sure appreciates it. They're not very happy with this. They're not very happy with this at the moment. So anything we can do to improve their view of us would be good. Councilmember
Mayor Weaver.
Yes, County Clerk.
I'm sorry. It's not that we're unhappy. I think we're just exhausted from today's dealings with the legislature. We are here to work with you, and whatever you choose to do, know that we will do our best and will be partners with this process. We've engaged so far and appreciate the opportunity to be able to participate. So thank you.
County Clerk, that was just a little attempt at some light humor from me here at 9:30 at night. I probably should have known better. And as we've said before, nothing but respect for your office from the council members. We absolutely are lucky to have your office to work with, and we really thank you for everything you've done up until this evening's meeting and being here tonight and working with us going forward. You guys have been great, and we really thank you. I do think we're ready probably for getting off of this meeting tonight, but thanks again, all of you, for being here. And frankly, if there's more communication about another map alternative that maybe meets some of the concerns between what you've heard from the council and what was presented from the clerk's office in the 2-1, I think the council's open to it. If there's another map that can come up, and I see Jory, you're nodding ahead there. I don't know, maybe there is some more room there. I don't know that the three maps are the only maps that we get to consider. If there's another map that comes forward, on the other hand, perhaps we don't want to have a gazillion maps because we've seen how that goes over the hill over there. And, at some point we just have to make some decisions. Okay. Well, many thanks to everybody. And that takes us now to the final item on the agenda that we've all been looking forward to. Councilmember Schuster.
I move we adjourn.
All those in favor say aye.
Second.
Anyone?
Second.
Yeah, there was a second. All those in favor say aye or raise your hand.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. We are adjourned. Thank you, everyone. Good evening.
Good night, everyone. Thank you.
Night.
Good night.
Night.